Greetings and welcome to Unveiling Reality. I'm your host, Footing Reality. How is everybody doing this evening? Hope you are all living and doing well. Let's say hello to all our VIPs in the front row. Wolfram in here dropping links early. Thank you, Wolfram. Thank you. Thank you. He wipes his paws, lips in and house. Daisy Girl over there on Rumble, opening doors, letting people in. Into the front row with you. You go. Iris, how's it going? Good to see you. Welcome. So happy that you're here with us this evening. Shelly's in the house talking trash and truths. There she is. And there is T-Rex Trucking pulling on in with his 18 wheels. We're rolling. Yes, indeed. Indeed, do. We are off and going. All right. Well, tonight, we're going to dive into the world of NGOs and their connection with the deep state and also mainstream media's integration into that whole thing that Dan Bongino calls the blob. Yeah, he's just did put back-to-back shows out that I thought were just outstanding and explaining the whole understanding of the whole concept of this, and he puts it together in terms of what's also going on in the current run for president. So we're going to start out by kind of asking the question, why won't Nikki drop out? Why won't she stop? A lot of theories flying around. I have my theories, but a lot of them, and Dan has his as well. His kind of like runs along the same line as Vivek, and there's kind of like maybe a couple different schools of thought on this idea of what's with this lady, right? Now, the average person would probably just think she's crazy, she's greedy, but she also has been getting funded to continue her campaign as well. Now, after South Carolina, her biggest donor, the Koch brothers, have bowed out of financing that farce of a run, and so that's prompted some other different ideas about why she might continue to go ahead and run. Is it a money thing? Is it a wait it out and see thing? Is it a little bit more devious than that? Is it to set up something else? These are all the rumors that are kind of flying around, the different theories about why Nikki Haley just won't drop out. So I was listening, I caught a segment about this topic by Charlie Kirk, and he's under the impression that she's going to try to run third party. And that's the first time I'd heard that. And I don't think it's very practical. And not even third party with a known party. It's a group called No Labels, right? Just because they mentioned that, she would be someone they would be interested in talking about, which tells me everything I need to know about No Labels. no Labels, big scam. Hey, cool gamer, what's up? How you doing? Oh, look, there's Mimsy. Hey, Mimsy. Hey, cool gamer. How you doing? Cool gamer. I'm still waiting to hear what your favorite game is. I can't remember if you told me or not. But Mimsy, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so No Path Nikki continues to think that there's a path. So why? What is the main driving idea going on here? A third party run? It doesn't seem very practical to me. I was actually going to play the piece I was talking about, and I figure I just talk to you guys about it because it just doesn't make any sense. Not a lot of thought going into that, which makes me wonder, like, come on, do you actually believe that? Or have you even listened to what Vivek Ramaswamy has been theorizing for a good bit very publicly? Or even what Dan Bongino will theorize here in just a moment as we open this two-parter with Dan tonight. This stuff is so good, I want to stop and do analysis on it. And I want you guys to hear it because I'm guessing a lot of people haven't got a chance to hear this yet. So I like his take on this, and he does a lot of in-depth research. And as you know, Mr. Bongino is a former Secret Service agent, so he's been there, done it, knows it, inside track, inside connections, all that. So it's always very informative to listen to him, and he's fun to listen to as well. He's animated and all that. We're gonna listen to it on 125. That pretty much works good with him. If you go up a little bit higher than that, it gets a little frantic because he's so high energy. But yeah, Vivek's take on it is that that she is there so that they can hopefully get Trump out of there. So a backup contingency plan, if you will, to be there, in the bad candidate if their plans to imprison Trump or any of the other stuff goes through. I can't imagine a bigger call to action, a bigger crisis than if they try to do something like that. And they're openly trying. I mean, it's not they're trying to sentence the man to, hundreds of years imprisoned. It's like 700 years. I don't know. Something stupid. I mean, that's how dumb it gets. The fines, how big they are, right? That's stupid. I mean, it's just it's so over the top. Is just, you'll never he could pay it off, but it would hurt him, right? It's a lot of money to lose over something dumb that you didn't do, and you don't deserve to lose that kind of money. And then they say, if you don't pay it, we'll just take your stuff. I mean, it's getting and talk about authoritarian, talk about fascist, talk about all those things they project on the other side. That's exactly what they're doing, and I bet you a lot of people are just okay with it. You know, they're just okay with it. The ones that aren't really paying attention or don't care, or just as long as there's harm to him, they're happy. Not even thinking about what it really means about the country, about what could happen to them. Very narrow-minded people, narrow-minded, narrow narrative driven, you know, confined kind of minds they have. So, it just the fines, penalties, the years, all these things are just so outrageous that it's a farce. Like they don't take it seriously with the punishments they're handing out, right? Very much very corrupt even types of punishments. Things we never seen from anybody else. No one else ever, right? So yet Vivek's take on it is that, they're waiting around for something to happen. One of these things to go through. One of their, irons in the fire to pay off. And, if that doesn't happen, then okay, you still got the rest of it. So, but they have multi layers going on here. They're not just banking on one thing. That's pretty wild. That's how freaking out they are, as Bongino will point out as well. A lot of freaking out going on. But what does it all mean? Like, I think the mystery is, still yet to be solved. Haley doing what she's doing is really just ending her career. At least on the right. I mean, it's her political career. I can't imagine her ever getting reelected to anything ever again, anywhere. So I don't know what she must be getting paid well, or they must be just going for broke. I don't know, or she knows something. So then that's the rest of it. Then you get to what Vivek has to say about it. He's like, they'll stop at nothing. So whatever's on the table, everything's on the table. And so having that safeguard there is an indicator that they're still in full gear, right? They're still in full gear, full trying to figure out some way to maintain their power, their stranglehold on the country politically. That is, and then you could expect. My prediction is that should Trump get back in, just expect more of the same. And it's going to take some really never before seen actions, I think, to actually wrangle this whole situation in. At some point he has to stop the distractions, stop the lawsuits, stop the ongoing litigations, all the little dirty tactics they're doing. I mean, when you talk about dirty politics, we're getting the ultimate show, a historic show of it, like to no end. And this Nikki Haley remaining in the race has its good parts too, right? Because it's really, really, really for the rest of the world, hopefully, shining that light on the fact that there has been an ongoing effort to reclaim the Republican Party from these neoconservatives, these neocons, these rhinos, and that as it has been explained through the Ron Paul revolution and MAGA first run and second attempt, people have been trying to get this message out for a long time, and that understanding that there's been some, some shenanigans between the parties in this way, and a clear faction kind of coming out of it to try to make a big difference, changing the rhetoric, changing making the platform back to what it should be, and hopefully wake some people up. Like they'll just remember, man, I remember this person 10 years ago telling me that that there was a WWE wrestling match going on most of our lives between this false left right and this false left right paradigm, and that that these neocons weren't truly Republicans. Now they're it's starting to get reinforced for so long that they are hopefully eventually sinking. It's hopefully sinking in. Let's see, T-Rex. I mean, when she's being paid well. You heard what they tried to offer Kari Lake to not run. She's getting it like through campaign donations. Like they're throwing fundraisers for her, giving her millions and millions of dollars, and then that whole like whatever she takes with her, right? I guess it could just come down to money if you really want to, say, okay, let's take all the conspiracy out of it. Um, it could come down to money because she gets to take all that and put it in a nice little, whatever she has left over, put it in a nice little trust, and go towards whatever, right? She could start a foundation with it or something like that. I think that's the way it works. You can start her own foundation. Maybe that's the way she's heading, you know? And then her foundation will just be another tentacle of this deep state, another NGO tentacle of the deep state. In her case, WEF, right? I mean, can you imagine if they removed Biden and put in Gavin Newsom, and then they somehow removed Trump and put in Nikki Haley, and we got two WEF puppets running against each other, and this globalist, like global level false left right paradigm, where they would happily work together, ignoring each other's bad points and coming together on things like war and spending and expansion of government and surveillance and all these other things, right? That's where it would head. That's the next pair. If they ever got control again like that, that's the next thing we're looking at. We're looking at, not just wreck the country kind of people, but sign it off. And it'll be really interesting to see what happens in September with the summit of the future. The UN's throwing the pact year, the year that everybody's supposed to make the big pact to sign on to their leadership. And what that does is it erases the sovereignty. They'll tell you that it doesn't, but it does, because then you're supposed to do what they say. Oh, well, they can do what they want, but they're still going to do what you say because you got your people in there. Through your young leadership programs, your youth leadership programs, and your pawns that your advocates that you're sending out there to gain power. But for what that's worth, that's the Nikki Haley show that's going on right now. And why she keeps losing and keeps refusing to drop out. There's something going on there. Money. Is it a waiting game? Is she trying to build support for a third party run to kind of like play spoiler, like Robert F. Kennedy or Jr.? Do I have that right? Robert Kennedy Jr. is doing for the left right now. Siphoning some votes here and there. I haven't seen one thing about Kennedy. I really haven't. Like, is it just out of my algorithm or something? I never see the guy talking or much motion, much information about how his campaign's going at all. Like, I don't see him in the conversation anywhere. He's buried. Maybe some people who are more hip to what he's doing, and kind of considered him as a candidate might get more in their feed, but I don't get anything. Like, I don't even think about it unless I stop. Oh yeah, there is somebody else who supposedly is running. My question is, like, how do you get on the ballots? Like, how is he going to get on the ballots when you have to have you have to qualify to get on ballots? You have to have petitions. I guess the petition signing is it, right? So how does No Labels do it? Have they already like secured a spot for whoever they decide to insert later? I don't know. There's so much going on. But they never have an impact. Like, we learned that in 2012. The closest the Libertarian Party has come yet to getting national recognition, I guess. They hit that 3% of the vote. It got really close that time. Because a lot of the people that were for Ron Paul dropped when he had to concede to the establishment right to the Rhino Mitt Romney, because they had thoroughly rigged the whole game. He we tried to get the Libertarian Party to at least have something going on. We weren't sure what was coming next, but a lot of people went and voted for Gary Johnson, thinking because he was one guy that said, "Hey, I'd be Ron Paul as vice president." The only one on the stage actually at the time that said that. So he got to and go with the Ron Paul people, even though one election later he was bad mouthing Trump. Doesn't seem to get it, and it seemed like he may have just been playing games anyways. Who knows? He's a weirdo, and as it is. But he had a good campaign. He had a good campaign that year. So a lot of people tried to help the Libertarian Party gain a foothold into the national race, which would give us 3 parties on the national level. They'd have to be automatically included in debates and so on. So a little bit of the history there, but it doesn't. The third party stuff never works out. It never works out. That's why, the idea of going back in and just unrigging at least one party was the right strategy, and it has worked, and that's what we're working with right now. So God forbid we ever lose that foothold that we have, and fall backwards into that false left right paradigm. No doubt, heavily influenced by the control oligarchs that be, as it always has been. So hey, let's get going. Let's get going with Dan Bongino. Let's bring him on in. He's going to start by talking not about Nikki Haley, but he does a great Nacho Kitty. How's it going? He does a great job. He does a great job transitioning this into the deep state conversation. So that's why it's a good segue here. All right, here we go. Let's bring him on. Let's bring him on in. And away we go.
Or I had to settle on one. What's really going on with Nikki Haley? What does that have to do with any of this? Folks, the deep state is freaking out. They are... Tranquilo, brother. Because this message is important and I don't want it to get lost in the emotion. I have multiple people reaching out to me. The deep state, the blob. This blob of media people, intelligence operators, non-governmental organizations, Ukrainians and others are freaking out that Trump is going to win this election and expose this stuff. The first term, he got caught up in all kinds of obstacles he didn't see coming. He knows the obstacles now. They are freaking out. Folks, why is Nikki Haley still in this race? Because it is their last-minute moonshot, hoping something happens to Trump, legally or otherwise, and that Nikki Haley will be there to protect the deep state. I am absolutely convinced. You notice how she rarely exposes the deep state? She may casually mention it, but she doesn't focus on it like Trump does. It is the single greatest threat to your freedom right now. Nikki Haley is their backstop plan. Voters have completely given up on Nikki Haley. Do you realize the bullshit you have to sell to people to lose in the state you were a 2-term governor of? You were a 2-term governor. You lose by 20 and to sell it like it was a victory. In that case, Joe, remember when I lost by 1? I lost by 1 point in Maryland for Congress at a Democrat seat. Yeah, what a victory. He's like, what do you mean victory? You're sitting here about it that you're not in Congress. Doesn't matter. Victory. Victoire. Victory is mine. But Dan, you lost. I didn't lose. It was a moral victory. There are no moral victories. There's one ass. Here we go. That goes in the congressional seat. Ass, seat. But that ass isn't yours. It was someone else's. Doesn't matter. Moral, I only lost by 1. By 1. Nikki Haley lost by 20. She's like, we won again. I'm like, holy shit. This woman has lost every single county, I think, but 1. And she won that county by 2 votes? And then she's magically selling this bullshit that she's still in this race. Here's the sun. I'm a woman.
So yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to say there is utterly ridiculous. Still in the race. What are you doing? She's not giving up. So his take on it is, of course, she's waiting for something to happen.
My word, she's not giving up the fight. It doesn't matter. Everybody's giving up on you. Everybody's giving up on you. Joe, I'm not giving up the fight for Congressional District 6 in Maryland. Joe's like, Dan, that was like almost 10 years ago. Doesn't matter. I'm not giving up. Dan, the voters pick someone else. It don't matter.
Abrams syndrome.
I'm a man of my word. I'm not giving up. This is it. He called it. He is 100% right, folks. She is in stage 1 of the 8 stages of Stacey Abrams syndrome. Maybe 10. She's in stage 1. She's not giving up. Here she is after getting absolutely destroyed Saturday by 20 points in the state she was a governor of. By the way, that has an open primary. So the Democrats still could have saved her. She's still lost. Here she is telling everyone, don't worry, I'm a woman of my word.
I said earlier this week that no matter what happens in South Carolina, I would continue to run for president. I'm a woman of my word.
Gosh, is this woman the fakest politician in America right now? One, you're not a woman of your word. Is this 10 seconds? I can prove it to you right now. You're a woman of your word. Please cut the bullshit here. Here, watch this.
You are a flip-flopper on the Donald Trump issue. You're basically the new John Kerry.
I would not run if President Trump ran. I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president.
Okay, folks, she's full of shit. She's not a woman of her word. And listen to me. This is why this show's been through 100 titles. You have no idea because there's so much in it. The story I'm going to describe to you next about the CIA, the intel community, I am absolutely convinced at this point. Well, I'm not saying necessarily that she's directly involved in it. I'm just telling you, I'm sure of it now that people who are interested in preserving the blob, the deep state, there's no question in my mind they're behind the effort to keep Nikki Haley in this race. She's a woman of her word. I wouldn't run for president. President Trump ran. Oh, he's running. Yeah, I'm running too. I thought you just said, I do. But yours. This guy, Spike Cohen, he put this tweet out. Pretty much sums a lot of this up. For those who don't understand why Nikki's not dropping out, she's raising millions. Wait, stop right there. Leave that up. Really? Millions. So she's won no states. She's won what? Barely one county. I don't even know if that even held. She's won nothing. She lost her home state by 20. She lost in Nevada to, what was the candidate's name? None of the above. She lost to a candidate with no name in Nevada called Fanu Lanu. First name unknown, last name unknown. And she's raising millions of dollars, both directly and the PACs. He knows. The longer she stays in, the more she raises. So strange. No other candidate on planet Earth would be funded like this. Here's real Spike Cohen with a nice little nugget here. When her campaign ends, all that money can be either rolled into a PAC or a nonprofit that she runs.
There you go. So there's the money angle, right? So not waiting out any off chance, but still the money angle. So there's a couple different reasons there. Just you have to just wait to find out to see. It's like there's no way to prove it ahead of time unless someone leaks it, right? And it's on tape and indisputable.
And in the off chance Trump dies or is in prison, she'll be the last one standing. As long as the money keeps rolling in, she has no compelling reason to stop running. I don't know, Spike Cohen, but that's, yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Notice this Kochback network pulled out, however, just the news. So some of the money's drying up. But ladies and gentlemen, where's the rest of that money coming from? The answer is the rest of that money is coming from anti-Trump lunatics that are freaking out right now that the deep state is about to be blown to absolute smithereens. And Haley is one I believe they can trust to bury all this. And you know what she's going to say? Say some whatever happens to Trump. And Nikki Haley magically winds up becoming the nominee and wins. I guarantee you, on day one, she says, the past is the past. We're going to move on. No, we're not going to move on. Because if you don't dismantle the network destroying America right now, they're just going to destroy it again, Nikki Haley included. If she starts sniffing around. If she leaves him alone, she'll be the media's favorite new Republican. All right, I never read a spot this early, but it's important. I want to get to this next because this is the core of today's show. Folks, the intelligence community, in conjunction with all of their appendages, Soros groups, non-governmental organizations, foreign intelligence operations, foreign NGOs, media people, it's just a group of people that share one thing in common. They have manipulated U.S. and foreign elections forever. If you want to watch Mike Benz's video, you can go to his social media. We've covered it on the show.
We just saw Mike Benz getting interviewed by Tucker Carlson, right? So yeah, that was Mike Benz just a couple weeks ago.
Been a real expert on this, how the intel community since basically late 1940 in the United States has been perfecting the art of interfering in elections, ours included. They are doing it again, and they are working with the media, and they are absolutely at war with you. But in this war, we're going to start exposing people on an individual name basis. And let me say in advance, I am not suicidal, and either is anyone in my team, okay? We're going to start naming names because there are lieutenants, capos, and generals in this IC blob war on you. And one of them is Victoria Nuland. When you understand what's going on with her right now, you'll understand this CIA piece this weekend, that basically this New York Times piece on the CIA. Let me get to my first spot. I really appreciate your patience. They keep the show free. You guys are fantastic. So, but I'm going to get to this. That was okay. B. Oh, yeah. Hold on. I actually brought one up for you today. These are great companies, folks. They keep the show free for you. And we have the luxury of being pretty much sold out a lot. So we don't have to take sponsors. I use this stuff. It's great. I had a hard time sleeping for a long time. I used to whine about it on my show. It's called Beam's Dream Powder. I actually brought one up. This is mine. These are my packs. This is cinnamon cocoa, which honestly,
sorry for the ad.
Beam's been a game changer. And make yourself to stay. The only mistake, you want to try BE everything in my power before this election. Bongino for up to 40% off. Thanks.
There you go.
Folks, I'm going to do everything in my power before this election to expose this blob so that they are running in fear of us and our exposure and our truth-telling. And they don't even dare try to do what I think they're going to do. However, they're ignoring it, and now they're panicking. I'm telling you, they are watching this show, and they are watching you. And if you think that's me putting myself at the tip of some spear and acting like I'm no. They have targeted me before. Look it up. I put the receipts on the show. The Ukraine stuff we've been writing about for years has them freaked out. Why? Here's my continued series on exposing the blob and the schemers. I want to continue it today with Victoria Nuland. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a capo in the blob. This is a woman who in multiple administrations in the United States government has been involved at the highest levels of the scheming to weaponize the government to attack political opponents. This woman has been knee-deep, by the way, in milking the situation in Ukraine for years now. She knows everything. She has been, her, Biden, and all of these capos in this blob have been using Ukraine as a piggy bank Folks, I put out a tweet this morning about my old book, Follow the Money. It's not old, it's only a few years old. The first chapter, Insane in Ukraine, begins with a killer line. I put it on my Twitter. I don't want to read it here now. The essence of it is Ukraine has been a piggy bank. I'm not sure you understand what I mean. Oh, yeah, people, no. Ukraine's been a piggy bank for swampy.
Yeah, Follow the Money seems like it would be like a good book to read as well.
Everywhere. Everywhere. People have been making a fortune off the internal division in Ukraine for decades. Victoria Nuland wanted to make sure that her and Joe Biden and others kept the monarchy in Ukraine in place. And the monarchy during the Obama-Biden administration was being run by Joe Biden. He was the point man there. Remember, this is her on CNN this weekend. Here she is. She wants more money for Ukraine. Kind of weird how everything changed when people like me started exposing the Ukrainian piggy bank. Are they buying people's silence? Watch this.
I have strong confidence that when the House comes back, after they've been out in their districts, hearing from the American people, after they have heard from Ukraine, they have heard from Europe, which, by the way, just passed $54 billion in additional aid itself, that we will do what we have always done, which is defend democracy and freedom around the world, not just for victims of tyrants like Putin, but in our own interest in preserving a free and open international order.
She doesn't give a shit about a free or open international order. I'm going to play for you audio in a second, hidden recorded audio of her trying to manipulate a free and open order in Ukraine and pick the next leader in Ukraine. Why? Pull up the Politico piece. As I said, the prospect of a second Trump presidency has the intelligence community on edge. Look at the date of the article, folks. February 26, 2024. Joe, last time I checked, I think that's, oh, look, today.
Yeah.
Why does the prospect of a second Trump presidency have the intelligence community on edge? Because they've been working with their little monarchy in Ukraine to both get rich and manipulate world affairs at this critical country on the border with Russia for a really long time. And they're afraid Donald Trump may lift the carpet up and go, oh, look, you got a bunch of, whatever, is that nasty? Is that mold? You want to see the blob? You want to hear the blob? Oh, I know you do. See, these are things you're not going to hear pretty much anywhere else other than a couple of conservative media outlets. You'll never hear the mainstream media play a lot of this now. Here's Victoria Nuland, back in government, by the way, no problem at all. Here she is caught in a hidden recording here. She's talking to the then ambassador to Ukraine, a guy named Jeffrey Pyatt. And I want you to listen to this conversation. Nobody, again, disputes this conversation is real. She's talking about the next leader of Ukraine and how basically they're going to pick the next leader of Ukraine, Yachts and prime minister, how they're going to pick this person. This is how knee-deep we've been in Ukraine. It's a critical country next to Russia that's had a pro-Russia and pro-Europe war going on within the country for years, and a bunch of swampy rodents have been making money off this place for years, including the Bidens. Listen to this.
Good. So I don't think Cleach should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you think, in terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking, in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, you know, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this. I
think Yachts is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, you know, what he needs is Cleach and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week, you know.
Folks, if I thought any of this was standard run-of-the-mill diplomacy, of course the United States, don't be naive, has an interest in certain people getting into power in countries and certain people not. I get that. I'm not stupid. We don't want anti-Americans in power, and whatever we can do in some countries to make sure, within the bounds of the law, that people who like our country, I'm pro-America. I don't want anti-American lunatics in charge. I want you to be absolutely clear. This is not that. This is Victoria Nuland ensuring that the people in charge in Ukraine never expose the piggy bank. I'm going to go back to a lot of this in a second, but Nuland is a capo in this blob, who will do anything right now to shut the Ukrainians and Zelensky up from telling you the truth about how knee-deep our CIA and money people were in Ukraine. There was an anti-corruption bureau, and I want you to remember this name, NABU, N-A-B-U. It's called anti-corruption. Forget about what it really did for a second. The group was basically inspired by a Soros-funded group. This group was a government-associated but not direct government group. The long and short of it is NABU was a wealth of information and was very useful to our FBI and CIA, and making sure in Ukraine that any information they wanted about Trump was filtered through Ukrainians and anti-corruption efforts through our FBI and CIA and could be traced back to them. But who is Victoria Nuland, who's still in the government right now? Well, as I always do, folks, I always just go to left-wing resources. Why? Because you're trustworthy? No, they're not trustworthy at all. I go to left-wing resources to make a point that if the media is going to tell us we're big conspiracy theorists, then you're going to have to indict your own people, because sometimes they actually report a story that's true, like Politico back in 2018, how a top U.S. diplomat pushed back against Russian hacking. Notice the narrative is totally different what the story actually says. Who's the story about? Yes, Victoria Nuland. They note Victoria Nuland is now confirming publicly that she pushed Obama to respond more aggressively to remember the DNC hack that never happened? To the hacking before the election, and acknowledging that she and others at the State Department were informed sometime in late July about the inflammatory findings of, yes, ladies and gentlemen, one Christopher Steele, linking the Russian effort to Donald Trump. I love this line. Unbeknownst to her, yeah, sure. The FBI also in July of 2016 have begun a secret investigation into possible ties between the Trump campaign and Russia. And the issue of whether the Steele report paid for by the Democrats helped fuel that investigation is now the subject of a partisan dispute.
Huh. I wonder. You think that might have been it?
On Capitol Hill. Wait, so the lady pushing for more money in Ukraine, who's trying to dictate to the Ukrainians who should be in charge next, so she covers up everything going on over there, their ATM machine and their intelligence gathering operation, which was only gathering partisan hit job nonsense stuff. These people were like partisan activists. She knew all about the Steele dossier and all the fake intel. It sounds to me like what I've been telling you, that the whole Russia hoax is really a Ukraine scandal, is true. Does that explain why this New York Times wrote that piece this weekend? No, CIA in Ukraine is great, really, because all we seem to be getting out of the CIA in Ukraine is a bunch of fake Trump intelligence that Victoria Nuland seems to know about. How do you know that? Because if you go to part 2 in a Politico piece, they admit it again. In the interview, Victoria Nuland said she was familiar with Christopher Steele's work. Through regular reports he had passed on to her office over the previous several years, dealing with political maneuverings in Russia and Ukraine.
How about that?
Doke. I'm crazy, right? I'm nuts. I'm a big conspiracy theorist. You understand this whole anti-Trump operation is being laundered through Ukraine, right? You get. Here's Victoria Nuland again, by the way. Remember the biolab story in Ukraine we were told was a big conspiracy theory and a hoax? That's interesting, because when we tell you, hey, there were biolabs in Ukraine, everybody goes, oh, right-wing conspiracy theory. I go, really? That's funny, because I got it from Victoria Nuland. You did? Yeah, listen to yourself.
Let me ask you, does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
Remember, that was another conspiracy theory, too?
The answer is yes. Yeah.
We've flagged and unflagged so many conspiracy theories. We'll run the flag it book. We're going to have to get a new one.
Yeah.
It's so strange how whenever say they call something a right-wing conspiracy theory, what do you automatically know? That the CIA is trying to hide something using people, useful idiots like Victoria Nuland, who knows exactly what's going on in Ukraine. Now do you see why we've used Ukraine as kind of like the 51st appendix state that we've used for intelligence gathering, and we've used as an ATM? And whenever you start digging up what's happening in Ukraine, do you notice how many people freak out? Folks, we were on the list. I've showed it to you 1,000 times. I'm not saying it to be anybody's martyr. I'm not. I'm proud of what I do, and I'm happy about it. I'm just telling you, people are watching this show. And don't for a second think the New York Times piece I'm going to get to in a second, CIA's in Ukraine, and it's great. Don't think for a second that's not a deep state leak using the media to counteract the reporting on this show, because they can't refute it, because it's their own words. Politico, Nuland's own words, their own reporting. I take our last break, and I'm going to get back to this New York Times piece. I was in a breakfast restaurant with my wife when I saw this thing pop, and I said, look at this. You believe this? They are freaking out right now. All right, last break, folks. Fast-growing trees, I use them. I use them in my, we just got a new house. We had to move, kind of grew out of the place. You know, Fast-Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the U.S. with more than 10,000 different kinds of plants and over 2 million happy customers in the U.S. You can grow lemon, avocado, olive, or fig trees inside your home and stay on top of the wide variety of houseplants available there, too. Fast-Growing Trees makes it super easy to order online. Your plants are shipped directly to your door in 1 to 2 days. And along with their 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee, they'll offer free plant consultation forever. We love it. The site is super easy to navigate. Just add your zip code, and they'll tell you the best plants for your area so you don't buy something not for your soil. It's really great. You don't have to drive around to nurseries and big gardening centers. Fast-growing trees makes it easy to order online. Your plants are shipped to the door in 1 to 2 days. Right now, they have the best deals online, up to half off on select plants, and free shipping this week only. Our listeners to our show get an additional 15% off when you use the code Dan at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com. Use code Dan at checkout. Right. They've been with us for a while. It's a great company. 50% off site-wide and their delicious food.
Steak. Hang on.
Load up on all the
almost there. Sorry for the delay here. YouTube rocks.
Delicious, tender, beefy burgers, juicy steaks, so much more. With Omaha Steaks, the possibilities are endless. Endless flavor, endless value. They have great seasoning, too. Every purchase is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee.
People go around this Omaha.
Shop the semi-annual sale today. Don't forget to use promo code Bongino at checkout to get an extra $30 off your order. The food is great. Check it out.
Hey, want to buy some steaks?
Kickstart your spring grilling today. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code Bongino at checkout. Minimum purchase may apply. omahasteaks.com, promo code Bongino. Thank you.
Bongino.
All right.
The steak.
Now it's time to get really down and dirty. And I'm going to say again, I am not in it. I love my life, okay? I'm telling you right now. And I used to kind of joke about that. I'm telling you right now, it's not funny anymore. because this shit's getting serious now. They are watching the show. The last 2 and 3 weeks, we have been exposing how the Russia hoax you've heard about, Donald Trump colluded with the Russians, you've heard it a million times. That's not a Russia hoax. It's a hoax about Russia. There's a difference. Do you understand? It is a hoax about Russia that started and was watered in Ukraine, not Russia. Someone at the CIA, because we've been exposing how John Brennan and the CIA have been running this hoax about.
I mean, that totally makes more sense. I had never like really thought about it like that. I guess I really hadn't delved into it because I just figured, you know, it was bullshit anyways. It was just a tactic being used. He's more down into the nitty gritty on it, man. He's more down to the granular details of why it's. It makes sense because it is a hoax about Russia. It's not a Russian hoax. You see how the wordplay there changes everything, doesn't it? No, it's just a hoax about Russia. He's right. And how many of y'all thought about it like that? Or how many of y'all went with the initial Russian hoax, like as in the hoax came out of Russia? And that there was some kind of collaboration going on. I think everybody has. He's saying that, well, that's kind of this, you know, that it's actually coming out of Ukraine. So let's hear the details here.
Russia from Ukraine. Somebody's freaked out. How do I know it? Because deep state ass kissers, Adamentius and Michael Schwartz, who, by the way, have their lips attached to the ass of the blob in the deep state. Someone must have reached out to them and said, hey, we got a problem. Some conservative wackos out there promoting a conspiracy theory that the CIA and Ukraine started the hoax about Russia. Of course, you would think Adamentios and Michael Schwartz would actually look into the story and see I'm right. No, they just got to go out there and write the narrative as the deep state wants it. Here's the article. Is this in a newsletter? You got to put this in there. I hate to send you to the New York Times, folks, but this is one of those times, clicks be gone. You got to read this story. And just remember, you are reading almost from John Brennan's lips, okay? Even though he's not in charge. It's called The Spy War, how the CIA secretly helps Ukraine fight Putin. Now, the byline here is critical. Look, for more than a decade, the United States has nurtured a secret intelligence partnership with Ukraine that is now critical for both countries in countering Russia. Holy shit. Do you believe this? We start exposing this whole thing, and all of a sudden this thing appears. Let me show you a couple screenshots from this piece, how now they must realize Trump is really close to blowing the doors off this thing in an election that's just months away, that he could win. And when he does, they will no longer be able to hide the hoax about Russia. That's really the Ukraine scandal, right? They're not going to be able to hide it. So they're trying to pre-butt and pre-bunk. Oh, pre-bunk. Key, where did we hear about that? Oh, that's right. Last week, that was the new deep state way of countering misinformation. They're going to try to pre-bunk stories. You mean like get out ahead of them? Yes, pre-bunk. Sir. And here it is. Here's the pre-bunking when Donald Trump comes out and goes, holy shit, man, the hoax about Russia really started in Ukraine. No. We wrote about this February 25th, 2024 in the New York Times. Look at this. Look at this. I sound like in here. Look at this. Look at my New York thing came out. The Ukrainians also helped U.S. officials pursue the Russian operatives who meddled in the 2016 U.S. presidential election between Donald J. Trump and Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Another huge lie. I mean, laughable, right? Another huge lie. Like some Facebook ads. Someone imagine some Facebook ads is supposed to shift the election. Facebook ads, and like how many people bought into that? They don't even know the light, watered down, watery, weak excuse behind the whole like just headline that Russians impacted the 2016 election. They tried to shift it. You know, they tried to do something. They interfered. You know, no matter, it's just like, okay, they bought a Facebook ad or two, something like that. And it wasn't even like connected to the government, just people. I don't know. Maybe they weren't even like really Russian. You know, you just never know, right? You can't believe anything because it's so stupid to think that some Facebook ads are going to make people shift people's votes and from Clinton to Trump. Oh yeah, I was going to vote for Hillary, but then I saw a Facebook ad and I decided to switch my vote. That makes so much sense.
It's weird, man.
Wait, Joe, hold on.
Yeah.
The Ukrainians helped U.S. officials, CIA, pursue the Russian operatives who meddled in the 2016 Trump-Hillary election? Chatsters, the fuck are they talking about? There were no Russian.
Yeah, operatives. See, they throw that word in there. It's all control of language here.
Russian operatives meddling in that's already been documented by like 5 or 6 different reports. Even Democrat Bob Mueller, who may not be a registered Democrat, but is certainly a Democrat, concluded there was no evidence of this at all. But notice, wait, put that back up one more time. Sorry. Notice how NGOs and Michael Schwartz, again, the intelligence community, with the blob, how they all work together with the media to make you believe bullshit. They're trying to make you believe the Ukrainians who invented this whole Russia hoax thing in conjunction with the Democrats. They're trying to make them out to be good guys. Pursued the Russian operative. What are they talking about? There were no Russian operatives. Everybody was Ukrainian. Konstantin Kalimnik, Leshenko, they were all Ukrainians.
There you go.
This is all bullshit. You see how these Times reporters just like parrots, just squawk boxes, repeat what the intel community tells them? John Brennan must be on the phone saying to some PR guy, call NGOs and Schwartz at the Times. These two dipshits, they'll do no homework at all. Call the two dipshits and tell them this story. That Ukraine's great. The CIA, it's awesome that we've been working there. They're really awesome. As a matter of fact, they help us track down the Russians who stole the election. There are none. They made this up.
No.
This part is killer. By the way, Zelensky knows all of this. Zelensky knows all of this. I'll say again, for the 1000th time, I'm not suggesting Ukraine deserves what's happening. I can't stand Putin. I would never travel to Russia, ever, period. They're not our friends. I don't care what anybody tells you. But this is bullshit. Zelensky knows all of this. And he's been holding on to it forever. He knows all of this. How do I know? Look at his third line. This is critical. They're talking about Obama's advisors wanting to shut the CIA program down. But some of Mr. Obama's advisors wanted to shut the CIA program down. But John Brennan persuaded them that doing so would be self-defeating, given the relationship was starting to produce intelligence on the Russians as the CIA was investigating Russian election meddling. Oh, God. I thought that was a conspiracy theory. I thought the Ukrainians... What Russians? John Brennan convinced Obama that the CIA relationship in Ukraine was really great because they were starting to produce information about Russians and Trump stealing the election or something? There was none. Go back to that. Sorry, one more time. Sorry, Tony. Poor guy. He's got to run the whole thing. Tony's like this. Got feet on the keyboard and shit like that. Ladies and gentlemen, don't buy for a second this bullshit line that Obama's advisors wanted to shut this down. Obama's knee deep in this whole thing. The New York Times is just telling you a bullshit narrative to do what? Why are they writing that? Anyone know? Anyone in the chat know why the New York Times is writing this? Because this is all about protecting Obama. You don't think Obama knew Brennan and the CIA were working in Ukraine to fabricate a Russia hoax in Ukraine? Of course he knew. The only reason the Times is writing the article in this way is to isolate their man god, small g, Barack Obama. Oh, some of Obama's people didn't like this. Bullshit. He was running the whole thing. This is BS, folks. The Russia hoax is a Ukraine scandal for the 10,000th time. How many times we got to show this Politico piece, by the way? Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump, written back in 2017.
So real quick, if everybody out there in the crowd, if you want to comment, did you guys ever look at it from this perspective, like about this? I know we're going to go into much more here later in the show, but this is just the beginning parts. This is kind of like a little bit of an addendum here, but have you ever thought about this? Like really thought about this, that, this whole Ukraine thing went a lot deeper than it did. And it actually was where this whole Russia interfere with the elections kind of conspiracy theory was sprung out of, and how much cover up was going on. Really interesting stuff.
By Ken Vogel. How many times we got to show this? Look at the date, folks. Look at the date on the piece. Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Donald Trump backfire. January 11th, 2017. Ukrainian government officials tried to help Hillary and undermine Trump by publicly questioning his fitness for office. Why am I showing you this piece? Because, folks, the media that wrote about it in 2017 in Politico, as they were trying to send a message, the Ukrainians to Trump, like, hey, we're really sorry, and Politico became the useful idiots to do it. The media has known about the Russia hoax being a Ukraine scandal since at least 2017. Why have they hidden it from you? Because they're part of the deep state blob. They freaking wrote about it, man. They wrote about it. And they're going to do it again. Zelensky could out this shit right now. And he's not doing it. He knows all of this. He is acting like our government is run by Democrats, not by the American people. And he's banking right now on the fact that the Democrats are going to win re-election. I would look at Zelensky totally different if he would come clean. He let Donald Trump get impeached, knowing all this shit was true. I want you to look at this account, FOIA fan. It's a good account. I unfortunately left him off my account to follow, which was a damn shame. I was just in haste. I put out accounts to follow on Spygate, and I've been adding to it. I added later, but this is a good account too. FOIA fan. They note that this source on Joe Biden that was about to give up the goodies, Smirnoff, who was locked up twice last week because the police state wants to shut him down. Note Smirnov was apparently spying for the United States against Russia, and they're burning him publicly by making detailed recitations of his spying. Super classified stuff we never get to see. It's incredible to watch. Why? The answer is they're freaking out, the deep staters and the blob, that Trump is going to expose all this. Here's what's going on. They've got a spy against Russia who also has information against Biden. The information he has on Biden is devastating. Biden in Ukraine. So what did they do? They arrested him twice. Here's Foyafan. He just read the indictment. They're giving up everything this guy said on Russia. Why? Why are they doing it? Why are they giving up all of this valuable Russian intelligence that this guy supposedly generated? Because they're trying to prove to you this guy's a Russian source. He's not. There's one other point I want to make on this guy too, Smirnov. Well, a couple other points here. This guy Smirnov is an Israeli citizen too. Folks, was this guy spying for Israel as well? Why does that matter? Because then you get to kill two birds with one stone. If Smirnov, who's spying against Russia, but also has dirt on the Bidens, can be locked up and put in jail, Biden hates Netanyahu and he can't stand Israel. He can't. His left wing wants him Israel from the river to the sea. If Smirnov was a Mossad or Israeli spy as well, knock out an Israeli spy that may be helping the Israelis too. No, they wouldn't do that. There's such nice people in government. Like I said, I'm not suicidal. You did? Oh, you did? No, they wouldn't do that. Yeah, sure they wouldn't. How do we hurt Netanyahu? Well, we got this Russian spy we've been using. He's great, but he also has dirt on Hunter Biden. Is he helping Netanyahu and the Israelis? Yeah, lock him up. Matter of fact, lock him up twice in the same week. Here's another great tweet by Stephen McIntyre, by the way, where he absolutely nails it. Oh, this guy Smirnov was about to expose all the dirt about the Black Ledger stuff. Note this. Next press conference attracted little attention, but contained an August 2016 Biden-Poroshenko tape that linked Poroshenko and Biden to the Black Ledger that decapitated Manafort as Trump's campaign manager. Dirtcash was then platformed by U.S. agencies. Let me translate this for you. Again, it's all in the first chapter of Follow the Money. If you care to read it, get it from the library. I don't care. I really don't. I don't care at all. Let me tell you what's happening here. This guy, Smirnov, who they're trying to make disappear into a gulag, who's got the dirt on Biden, was about to expose a series of tapes, some of which I played on the show, that linked Joe Biden to the Ukrainian operation to take out Donald Trump, disguised as the Russia operation. That's what the Black Ledger thing is. That's what the Politico piece in 2017 is about. A fake intel operation in Ukraine to take out Trump people with a fake ledger about payments. Oh, they were about to tie that to Biden? And this guy Smirnov knows about it? And he's in jail? So weird. Now, does this make sense, by the way? Here's Biden's national security advisor, who, by the way, conveniently, they all know each other, was Hillary Clinton's foreign policy advisor during her run. Disgusting Jake Sullivan, senior member of the blob and the deep state, weaponizing government to attack people. He's the national security advisor now, despite actively promoting the Ukraine hoax, also known as the Russia hoax. He knows what's going on, that the Ukrainians know everything about the fake operation to take out Trump. I mean, it started in Ukraine with the Black Ledger operation. Here's Jake Sullivan on the weekend shows again. Ladies and gentlemen, showing you these people don't have an ounce of human dignity and no human shame at all. Here's Jake Sullivan again on the weekend, trying to push the Russia hoax out of Ukraine again. Watch this.
Are there concerns or is there even evidence that Russia is planning to interfere in the 2024 election, Jake?
I can't speak to evidence today, but I can tell you, of course, there are concerns. There is a history here in presidential elections by the Russian Federation, by its intelligence services, and there's plenty of reason to be concerned. And this is not about politics. This is about national security. It is
Lying to your face. Just lying to your face. People look at this and they see truth. Other people that are beyond the influence of the first bail, the establishment narrative, look at this and see someone lying to them. If only the people, if only those trapped in that narrative could see what we see.
about a foreign country, a foreign adversary seeking to manipulate the politics and democracy of the United States of America. We're going to be vigilant about that, and we will engage the Congress on a bipartisan basis because this should be above and beyond politics.
That's bullshit. That's just saying get their guys on one side and their guys on the other side to further the agenda.
I want you to understand right now. I'm going to wrap this segment up with this. I got a couple other things I want to get to. I want you to understand right now and forever. Zelensky could blow this up right now. All Zelensky has to do is come out and admit that the Russia hoax started in Ukraine. Ukrainians made up the fake Black Ledger story. Biden knew about it. Biden's son was making money there, and Trump was impeached for asking questions about it. That's all he has to do. The Republicans in Congress would finally be like, wow, listen, we got a truth teller finally. Here's what's going on. And maybe they'd reevaluate their posture. Now, do you understand why so many people are so skeptical of money to Ukraine? Because what's the money being used for? Another intelligence operation? Look up NABU, N-A-B-U. Look it up. It is this Ukrainian anti-corruption thing. It has become a cesspool for the FBI and the CIA to launder fake intelligence about Trump through Ukraine. That's what it was. Soros's group before that, Ant-AC, was a model for this thing. It was a Soros-associated group because of his organizations funding some of it. That's all this is, folks. And of course, the media, which could just go out and ask Zelensky these questions, are part of the blob. Look at what just popped this morning. NBC News. Russia's 2024 election interference has already begun. I'm sorry, but if you fall for this again, I'm not saying you, the chatsters, if you fall for this again, moderate Democrats, even liberals, you are a freaking dumbass. You are so stupid. You're totally not worth my time. You are just a moron if you fall for this again.
And
These
so
are
many people
Ukraine
did.
hoaxes. And that's why everybody's freaking out. All right, I'm going to play. This is amazing. I'm going to actually get to a show for once. I know they're all shocked. I want to play a couple other things. I'm going to move on here quick. But you know, libs of TikTok, I talk about the libs of TikTok effect all the time. How the libs of TikTok effect is crazy liberals have to say crazy things like, cut the little boys' nuts off. It's great for them, which is crazy. But liberals love it. They think it's the greatest thing ever. It generates money and activism. Like, hey, nuts, cut them off. Like they love that. That's their thing, right? Cut off as many nuts as we can because they're crazy. But the libs have a problem. Nobody else believes that but crazy liberals. So when they put it out there on the internet to raise money and regular people see it, they're like, oh my gosh, we're cutting kids' nuts off. They can't believe it. That's what libs of TikTok does. So, of course, there are people who like porn in schools and castrating kids and will defend it. And there are hacks in the media also, like the dreadful, sad Taylor Lorenz, who is just a clueless buffoon crying all the time and whining about how she can't censor people. So libs of TikTok confronted us. I want you to see how stupid these morons in the media are. Oh, sex education. No. You're not teaching sex to my kids. Okay. I don't want you teaching sex to my kids in school. I don't want my kids to learn about sex. Okay. Thank you very much.
Topic.
Apparently, Tay over there, Taylor Lorenz, thinks that's okay. Even a little bit of porn in schools. Watch what happens when Chaya, libs of TikTok, confronts her. Watch this idiot. By the way, she has a mask on too, which is an automatic sign of a moron. Check this out.
Wait, I don't know what book this is from.
Genderqueer.
Okay.
So should this picture of a blowjob be in elementary schools?
I've never seen a book like that in elementary schools, but I have no idea.
It has been. I posted about it, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about
should it be in elementary schools?
I have no idea the context. I have no idea.
So in what context is it okay if it would be?
I have absolutely no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I would not. I don't know, because I haven't seen the rest of that book. I don't know what's in there.
But there is a context that it would be okay to give kids pictures like that, gay sex, anal sex in elementary schools.
I guess sex pictures as well. I don't know because you know who I would defer to on that.
You don't know
because neither of us are sex educators. I would defer that question to a qualified professional, a sex.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What a look at her eyes. She's so brainwashed. Look at that. Who the hell is Taylor Lorenz anyways? I hear the name, but look at her. You know what we should do? We should default to the experts who will tell us what to think. You don't have an opinion? You don't have an opinion at all? Not one opinion. That's the whole thing. Duck dodge. You know, because she's in cognitive dissonance. The information, what she's just seen, is put her into the state. And so what she's trying to do right here is fly. This is flight that's happening. Flight, defer to the expert fallacy. Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. Well, that explains everything. Okay, yeah, I think she was one of the enablers. Yeah. Hashtag okay enabler. I remember that. Okay. Look at she's got that blank look on her face. Panic, flight, fear, but cognitive dissonance, you know. Somewhere in there is a conflicting belief, but she can't go against what she's already gotten into over her head.
Educator and say, hey, you're an expert. You've treated tons, you've educated tons of people. You're a full-time sex educator. You've really studied this. What are the appropriate boundaries? I don't think that
You've really studied this, and she doesn't have I've really studied if showing kids porn is a good idea in schools. Yeah, I think they're giving out degrees for that now. Taylor Lorenz is a show reporter for the Washington Post. It used to be. I gotcha. She's rich. Is that like Lorenz, like the brand name Lorenz?
Itself as a journalist or a media personality, I don't think I'm the right one to make that decision. And I guess I'm wondering why.
You're not the right one to make that decision, but do you have an opinion?
Can you imagine being Taylor Lorenz's parents, knowing you spawned this piece of human filth? Who's like, yeah, there's some context where, oral and kind of sex to kids pictures is really cool. There's some context by which imagine that. Imagine being no, there's no context for that. There's no context for that. But imagine being Tay. You see how stupid she sounds? That is the libs of TikTok effect with libs of TikTok. Where Tay, when she writes for the Washington Post and other scam sites, right?
Tay-Tay.
She's like, oh yeah, because she wants to raise money and be a hero with the liberals. Sex, education in school disguised as oral pictures and other stuff is awesome. And then when normal people show it to you, hey, here's the actual picture. Oh, let's defer to sex educators. Let's not. It's interesting you wrote about that. You seem to make yourself a sex educator. And then when you see it, you want to defer to sex educator. Thank you, Chaya, for exposing this absolute loser, a piece of human garbage. And Tay, stop the freaking crying, you pathetic piece of garbage. Stop with the whining. Stop it. Oh my gosh, I got an nasty email. Yeah, you want to see the 1,000 death threats I get because a-holes like you write about me and her all the time? you piece of garbage. Shut your mouth, stop crying, stop whining, and stop pushing Hummer pictures in kids' schools, you piece of garbage. You're gross.
Shit is getting annoying for real.
It is for real. Groomers. It's what they are. Disgusting.
Yep.
Oh, there's a context. No, there's no context. I want to end with this. This is what people like Taylor Lorenz, by the way, fear. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you they fear artificial intelligence going forward because their biggest fear about artificial intelligence is that it's going to start to tell you the truth. That's what their fear is. They're afraid there are going to be devices and technology in the future that are going to help people understand real news in real time without the filter of people like Tay and other bullshit artists like NBC. Watch this clip from 60 Minutes. It'll make perfect sense. Why the liberals are so afraid of artificial intelligence and the truth getting out there. Watch the show together.
Hey, welcome.
Now you see why they're afraid of AI and they want to regulate it. They're afraid you're going to be watching this show with one of those units attached to your head, your ear, your eyes, whatever it may be. And in live time, you're going to be able to hear, hey, is Dan Bongino right? Did the Russia hoax actually start and was watered and filtered in Ukraine and fed to our CIA? Yes, the information on the internet seems to appear Dan Bongino was correct. Look at this report. That is what they're afraid of. That is a devastating piece for them. All right, folks, got to do the radio show in a few minutes. Spread this show far and wide. Ladies and gentlemen, the Russia collusion.
Done.
Ukraine hoax. I can't say it enough. If you don't believe it after this show, you're never going to believe it. The footprints are everywhere. Now the New York Times is admitting it because they are running for the hills. They're afraid of the show. Download the Rumble app.
There you go. All right. So episode 1, that was the lead in. And I felt like we need to hear the lead in to understand where he was coming from in context for the big show on this topic. So that was kind of like a blend show. And this next one is going to be a real deep dive on it. And so let me pull that up. We're actually going to watch that one on Rumble. So kill this. You guys, I don't know who's a creator that's here that uses StreamYards, but I've been getting all kinds of weird things on StreamYards. Let's see, okay, it's all queued up and ready to go. All right, this one's going to be broadcast from Rumble. The title of this is Soros and the Intel Community Exposed. So this is, again, the NGO and the deeper state, right? The deep state. So together forming the blob or the deeper state. All right. How you guys doing out there, man? Make some noise. What's going on? What do you guys think of that segment? Talk to me. Give me comments about that. I've asked a few times, but has anybody thought about this Russia hoax as in being a Ukraine hoax? A hoax about Russia coming from out of Ukraine. That's a really interesting noise. There you go. Thank you so much, Wolfram. Someone's listening. All right. But yeah, the whole, that makes sense because there's so much going on over there, in terms of our government being involved in the, not the establishment, the going back to Obama days, of course, like they could run operations out of there, they got it all set up. It's off the radar somewhat. And they got them on, basically just, they got them all bribed out too. They got the money hanging over their head too. You do what we say or you don't get the money. All right. Let's do this part 2, man, because this is keep our minds on top of this right here at the hour mark. Thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure you hit the up button over there in Rumble and the heart on X if you actually anybody's watching over there. I think there was one person watching. Hey, I think maybe that's Suzanne. Hi, Suzanne. All right, so let me make sure I got the volume right on this. Okay. And thank you to the We Watch crew that's out there rewatching this on their own time after it's done being live. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Okay, here we go. Part 2.
With your host, Dan Bongino.
I watched
Co-host
this clip
tonight.
yesterday on Fox and Friends, my friend Rachel Campos Duffy. And I'm thinking to myself what you're probably thinking too often in your life, sadly, way too often in your life. It's just incredible how much our government is actively working to F up our lives. I mean, actively, I don't mean, there's a big difference. I explain this often between misfeasance and malfeasance. It's not like the government's trying to do something good and they just screwed it up. You get what I'm saying? It's like they were trying to build a house for someone who was homeless and someone made a mistake in the engineering and
Hello. I got the wrong mic on. There you go. Thanks. Sorry about that. Hey, have you guys ever been approached with this narrative before from somebody that said, it's incompetence. The government's incompetent because that's why everything's screwed up, is because our people are just incompetent and the government can't do anything right. So there's no way that they can ever have an intelligent plan hatched or know how to move an agenda forward. They're always screwing everything up. It's total incompetence. They're just a bunch of idiots. They think a bunch of billionaire idiots were in the country, but to them that it's incompetence is the reason why everything's messed up. Not corruption, not greed, not legacy control over everything, not the desire to maintain power generationally, but because of incompetence. That's like the weakest excuse ever for that I generally hear. Well, it's just they can't do anything right. Ha ha, a bunch of idiots. Yeah. But yeah, so that's why everything's screwed up, That's why everything's the way it is. Okay. Yeah, I don't like that argument. I think it's very what do they call it? I can't think of the name. But it's a very weak argument that people just use when they don't know anything about what they're talking about. It's just incompetence. Yeah, not incompetence. Very deliberate.
House collapsed. You're like, okay, they tried to do the right thing. There were some mistakes. It's horrible. That's not the government. The government goes in and grabs a guy who's got a house, burns his house down, and makes him homeless. That's what they're doing. This segment, I can't get over, especially after yesterday's show. All the shit the government's doing right now, between attacking you with the FBI, the intelligence community at war with you and Trump, the immigration crisis, and them funding NGOs to set up camps of criminals in your neighborhood. They broke the law in your neighborhood. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Their media cronies attacking everyone. Folks, I got a big revelation today, too, coming. I'm going to tie something together for you. I got another good Mike Benz video, too. It's been great last few days. But, man, this is some good stuff on what, again, this whole crisis in Ukraine is going to make a lot more sense when I'm done today with this show. AmericanFinancing.net. You're trying to cut your expenses and create meaningful savings for you and your family. No matter how many streaming services, coffees, and nights out eating out on the town you cut out, it's not enough. That's why you call American Financing. They're saving homeowners just like you who are also trying to figure out how to save an average of $854 a month. That's over $10,000 a year. It's a lot of money. You can't cut enough small monthly expenses to save that much. If you call them today, you may delay 2 mortgage payments, creating even more savings. And the best part of American Financing, they never charge any upfront fees to find at 880.org for us taking back our government. But I'm not really confident at this point. If we lose November, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to say it, I'm long in America, but if we lose in November, I'm not really confident we can do that. You see what happens with this progression from a government that's supposed to serve people into absolute degeneracy. How many freaking examples you need? Venezuela is one of the richest countries in South America. Communist hellhole tyrants like the ones that run our country now drove it into the ground to the point now you speak out, you go to the gulag if you're not eating pigeons in the street. Look at what happened in Russia, which was making some progress after the collapse of the Soviet Union. They get Putin's in charge. Look what happens. You're back now into a police state. We're there now. And the problem with this is the longer it metastasizes, like a rotting cancer on your body, the harder it is to defeat. Ask anyone who has had cancer. You get it at stage 1. Stage 1 government malignancy. You can cut it out, some chemo, some radiation, and you may, if you're lucky, be done with it the rest of your life. Stage 2, you still got a shot. Stage 3, a little rougher. Stage 4, stage 5, you're in deep shit. Anyone who's had cancer can tell you that. We are right now in stage 4 government cancer malignancy. Nothing they're doing for you is actually for you. It's to actually hurt you. I can't express to you in strong enough terms how critical that analogy is for you to understand it. It's not that the government's trying to do something nice. Oh, we're trying to help people from other countries with open borders. They are not. It is a strict power play. I could play the demographic Destiny Democrat supercut 1,000 times. They don't care. They are actively trying to hurt you. Border chaos, the CIA and the FBI and the IC attacking you, the COVID lies, rogue prosecutors going after political enemies all around the country. You got to understand, folks, it's everywhere. What made me think of this? I wanted to cover this yesterday, but I got so much freaking material, man. It's overflowing my cerebral cortex. I want you to watch this segment on Fox and Friends. Rachel Campos Duffy is, my humble opinion, top 2 or 3 people at Fox. She is a diehard conservative. She's no bullshit. She's very skeptical about what's going on overseas with a lot of these payments we're making. She's got a healthy amount of skepticism with anything that comes out of any politician's mouth. She went down to a border area. And yesterday, this is how this ties to yesterday's show. I've been telling you over and over that the blob, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, this consortium of people that hate you and are effing up your lives, using government to do it, but not necessarily in government. One of the biggest headaches in the deep state blob are non-governmental organizations, NGOs. Why? Because the government can use them to do things that the government is constitutionally prohibited from doing.
Workarounds.
Yes. There you go. Workarounds. Joe's referencing a tweet, of course, by a Biden administration official who, when they were talking about COVID stuff, actually tweeted, oh, yeah, like it's a workaround. We can get around. There are no constitutional workarounds.
Yep.
That's why it's called the freaking Constitution. But Joe's correct. The NGOs, they're carve-outs, they're cutouts, they're workarounds to the Constitution. So the FBI's having trouble doing something overseas to create chaos for Trump. Just turn it over to an NGO, a non-governmental organization. They'll do the wet work for you. The same thing is happening with the border. The government is paying a bunch of groups with fancy names, Citizens for a Better Tomorrow, to house a bunch of people who have broken the law in this country. So I want you to watch this video. Here's Rachel Campos, Duffy, balls of steel. She goes into one of these, looks like a hotel, but mysteriously all the markings are taken off the hotel. And she starts asking around, who's here? Who are you guys putting here? Are there illegal immigrants in this hotel? Because they would be criminals if that's the case. Check this out.
What you're seeing is basically an unmarked building. All signage is removed. That's the first sign you know that this is an NGO, a non-governmental organization, in this case, Casa Alitas, who is housing illegal immigrants. Let's go inside to see what happens. Trying to rent a room?
Oh, no, we don't want rooms.
Why? Is this a hotel?
We don't. Can you guys get off the property, please?
Is this not a hotel?
Can you please exit the property? It's private property.
Whose private property? There's no name outside?
Can you please have them exit the building?
What's the problem? But is this where illegals are being housed with government funding?
Can you please get off our property? All of you, please, or I'm going to call the police.
Now, if they're getting government money, where does the government get its money from, Joe? Quick question, pop quiz. Anybody know?
Dude.
Looks like from you, folks. Joe's correct.
What happened, man?
No, I almost broke my Florida thing. Some guy gave this to me.
Damn.
It's pretty nice. Thank you. Thank you. It did not break. It didn't sound like it, right? You heard that? I heard Guy like, what was that? It did not break. It just bounced. It just bounced a little bit. That was
Florida
it.
will not break. Yeah.
Joe's correct. The G, the government, which hates your guts and doesn't help homeless people, it makes people homeless because they're guilty of malfeasance, not misfeasance. Yep. The government is stealing your money, taking your money through a confiscatory tax code to give to people who have no claim on U.S. citizenship legally at all because they broke into law coming here, and giving them your money for housing while many of you sit here and go, holy Moses, I can't pay the freaking rent. It's all, man, listen, it's all so broken and so malicious. It's hard for me to, the good news, and I do mean the good news, because I am long and
this is why it's important to understand this stuff. Most people don't even understand how they're getting screwed, you know? Most people don't even understand how bad they're getting screwed. It just goes right over their head and it goes right past their eyes, never touches their ears. I have no idea. But then they're looking for someone to blame. So they turn on the television and the television tells them who to blame and who not to blame.
America, and I don't want to sound depressing. Some people, it's a complaint I get about the show, but I can't bullshit you, man. I'm sorry. So, Dan, sometimes the show's a little macabre. It's a little down. But we're in a bad spot. What do you want me to do, man? You want me to lie to you? The good news is this, and it's not fake good news. It's real good news. We are ahead in multiple swing states. Trump polling is always off, to be fair. However, I'd rather be up than down. We've got a really good chance of taking this back, and they're freaking out on the left. Because whatever can be done by executive order can be undone. And now that they've made government more plastic, we have the ability to use that plasticity to get things done too, to correct this. But folks, right now, it is really, really broken. Now, the reason I started off today's show with that segment is it's a natural segue from yesterday's show. Yesterday's show was deep. We had 125, almost 126,000 people here watching, which is a huge crowd, probably one of our top 10. I broke into yesterday how the blob, this media, NGO, activist, lobbyist, Fusion GPS, they work with the government and how they're almost indistinguishable. That's why it's called the blob or the deep state. It never goes away. How they work to screw you over. You see how the NGOs work, not just in Ukraine and not just to spy on Trump. These NGOs work also as workarounds to our requirement to process people in the country illegally. Whatever the government can't do, they use non-government organizations to do. Censor, spy, traffic illegals, it doesn't matter. Who covers up for them? The media. They all hate you, folks. It's so obvious they're even openly talking about it right now. I want you to listen to this cut. Do you have that MSNBC thing I was supposed to use yesterday? So I know I asked you, Tony. This is from MSNBC the other day. I didn't bring it up yesterday because I had a lot to get to. But this is a cut where I want you to keep in mind, you understand rights come from God. They do not come from humans. I do not work for you. I am not your subject. My rights come from God. I do not respect you. I don't care about you. My rights come from God. I agree that rights are secured by our Constitution, but granted by God, because I believe in living in a society that has a guidebook and a set of rules that respects God-given rights. But I'm not asking you for my rights. They're
Watch
freaked
this.
out about this. And they think people are waking up to this whole blob attack on their civil liberties. And you're starting to see them just now openly spew verbal vomit on TV about it. Check this out.
One thing that unites all of them, because there's many different groups orbiting Trump, but the thing that unites them as Christian nationalists, not Christians, by the way, because Christian nationalists is very different, is that they believe that our rights as Americans, as all human beings, don't come from any earthly authority. They don't come from Congress. They don't come from the Supreme Court. They come from God.
Well, you understand, folks, they're prepping you for the tyranny that's coming. I didn't just throw this in there randomly. I wanted to even show you the note from yesterday when it was in yesterday's show and I had to dump it. I want you to understand what they're doing here. The media, the blob, these NGOs, all of this stuff. You got to understand why they do what they do, not just that they do it. Listen, any idiot can come on a show and say, hey, man, that was really messed up. Okay, why? Great. I'm not knocking anyone else's content. I'm just saying, if you don't understand the why, you're never going to understand the tactic here. The tactic's deliberate. This is a useful idiot. The reason they're attacking Christians and declaring you basically all racist, you're a bunch of racist Christian, whatever they want to, whatever nonsense label they want to attach to you, is because they're preparing you for the tyranny ahead. Folks, you need to understand that when the Soviet Union and the Bolsheviks, and when you look at the history of just modern history of Venezuela, from what was a relatively open society to full communism, the way they get in is a slow, methodical breakdown. And one of the things they have to detach you from is the idea that you have any God-given rights. That whole Yuval Harari, human beings don't have rights. You know, he talks about worms and stuff don't have rights. Human beings don't have rights either. No, you have rights, but they have to detach you from that to usher in the tyranny. They have to make sure that you don't get your rights from your family and God, that you start looking to the state. And that's how they usher this stuff in. They're preparing you for what's coming if Biden wins another term. Censorship, full-blown police state spying, weaponization of government, Soros-type NGOs with street chaos everywhere. You're going to see it. Folks, now who's funding all this chaos? One of the things over the last few days I've been trying to hammer through in the show is the blob. Because with this new Russia collusion 3.0, remember the first one, 2016? Trump colluded with the Russians to steal the election. This is like a sure Jan moment. Sure Jan. Then we had in 2020, the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. It was real. Now we have it again for the 2024 election. They're saying now that this Biden source is a Russian intel op or something. It's all bullshit. It's all made up. It's the same Russia, Russia, Russia. You know when Trump used to say Russia, Russia, Russia? Now it makes perfect sense. Russia 2016, Russia 2020, Russia 2024. So now it makes sense. Russia, Russia, Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all being run by the blob. Benz has a great video on this. I also saw a great one on Kanakoa's Twitter account. But I want to just point out two quick portions of my book, Follow the Money, because I've been documenting this for a long time, and it's why the Ukrainian embassy came after me. Shows you how they planted all these seeds and why Ukraine is complicit in this right now. If they don't come clean, Zelensky and his people, about what they did to interfere in our election, then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, it's going to be really hard for me to recommend untethered money to that country for any government operation, because I don't know if they're not going to use it to interfere with us. I want you to note this. This is from the first chapter.
That makes sense.
It's called,
the
first chapter has two parts. Part 2 is called the Soros Circle. And they note that in 1990, Soros, I'm quoting yourself, is kind of ridiculous. However, it's important here. In 1990, Soros and their Open Society Foundation, I want you to remember the names here. They created this group called the IRF, the International Renaissance Foundation, in Ukraine. And the idea, folks, was to help foster the Eastern Bloc countries' transition to democracy and a market economy. It's none of that, okay? Goes on. 4 years later, the Open Society Foundation was pouring in $14 million a year for the IRF, again, all non-government organizations, to distribute to various projects in Ukraine. 30 years later, the IRF was still receiving nearly $8 million in funds from Soros's group. In 2014, the IRF and its grantees were active supporters in the creation of ANT-AC, Anti-Corruption Center of Ukraine. Folks, all you need to know, we're talking about NGOs, non-government groups that can do what the government can't. You see how they work? Open Society to IRF to ANT-AC. It doesn't matter. The genesis of this is all Soros-funded groups, okay? They can give it 1,000 different names. Here's the second part, and I'm going to move on from the book. This is in the chapter as well. ANT-AC, again, from IRF, from Soros money, right? ANT-AC received $289,285, 17% of its total annual funding by the end of 2018 from Soros's group, and was started when rampant corruption was plaguing Ukraine. corruption we knew about, by the way, and Biden was a part of. It was instrumental in the creation of NABU. Now you see where we're going with this? The Soros Group is instrumental in the creation of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. You see how it just goes from one organization to the next, which was a new independent government law enforcement agency. Oh, shit. A Ukrainian law enforcement agency separate from the Prosecutor General's office to handle the biggest corruption cases. NABU was set up with funding from Western governments. And oh, looky here. Looky here. The FBI also provided some support there.
In a foreign country.
Where did the whole Black Ledger thing that started the Russia collusion hoax in 2016 start? In Ukraine with NABU. Soros Group, Ant-AC. Ant-AC is the template for now a Ukrainian law enforcement entity, NABU. NABU are the ones who launched the Black Ledger, which is a fake ledger attributed to Paul Manafort of the Trump team. It's totally fake. And started the entire Russia collusion hoax. You don't believe me? Look at the Kiev Post in August of 2016. NABU. Oh, look, there's a NABU. Says Trump campaign chief could get $12 million from the Regents Party Black Ledger. Folks, the ledger was fake. It was made up. It was a hit job. It was a Democrat operation. Funneled through a Ukrainian law enforcement op. Started on a template of Soros money groups. You see how they all work together?
You see that? Like, until you get into the details, man, you don't even realize it. Most people have no idea the connections and where the money comes from and how these things start. They see the name, they view it as official, and they read the headline and they believe it.
The FBI helps the Soros Group. The FBI agent in Ukraine went to go work for the Soros Group later. The Soros Group is used to start a law enforcement entity overseas. Just 2 months prior to this, the FBI agrees to an evidence-sharing agreement with NABU. And then, oh, looky here. A Black Ledger appears from NABU just magically and it's given to the FBI. You better investigate these Trump people. Wow, look at that. It's almost like George Soros and their groups and our law enforcement entities and overseas intel and law enforcement are indistinguishable. Matter of fact, I got a video on that. Mike Benz did it again. He does these walk and talks. They're very good. I highly recommend them. Where he was talking about exactly that. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to get back to the Benz video, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about, why I call it and others call it the blob. Because a lot of these people are not state actors. There's more flexibility when you're not in the state. Hey, you might disagree, but look, things aren't as dismal as they seem. The Waterfield Tree member too, Patriots family, been making regular appearances on the show here, whether he knows it or not.
Mike Benz, he was on last week on the on Unveiling Reality, the exposing the mass censorship epidemic. He was in that episode, full interview. If you guys want to check that out.
Terrific Tucker interview. He'd been around a while. Tucker kind of introduced, and yes, I know about the Tucker thing. You know what? I'll mention that next. Be very careful with this story. I'll get to that in a second. But I want to show you how the blob that's coming after you, NGOs with illegals, NGOs overseas, NGOs financing intel, NGOs working with the FBI. These NGOs are the tip of the spear when it comes to attacking freedom and liberty. Here's Benz in one of his walk-in talks, showing how the State Department, Soros, and all these things, it's all the same thing. They just use each other to do things that one can't do. Check this out.
All the assets of the empire were sold off in shock therapy, foreign direct investment to London and Wall Street investors, to George Soros. And I'm not saying that like thematically or symbolically. I mean, literally George Soros, who, if you've seen my videos on how he got his start in life, that is how he went from a millionaire to a billionaire, you know, it's from all the Forex speculating on State Department regime change operations, and then serving as one of the initial partnerships of the National Endowment for Democracy when they needed youth student movement mad muscle, and then the money could flow into the Soros Foundation to basically incubate little angry grievance tribes within a country to activate against their government when the CIA needed to take them down. So you can't separate George Soros from the State Department.
That's hugely important you understand that. And I recommend you go to a social media account if you want a detailed analysis of how the CIA, the State Department, the Pentagon, and these other government entities we call the deep state, really most of the damage is done by them funding organizations and overseas organizations that are not, in fact, our deep state. It's a way to enact plausible deniability. Flush money into these organizations and flush money into causes you want. and Oppo research. Folks, how do you this? You understand, like the Ben's video, how the State Department and the NGOs do the dirty work for the CIA and the Pentagon? And some guy in the chat was like, hey, man, maybe just stop talking about this Russia stuff. No, because they're pulling this shit on you right now. You understand this is happening right now? How many headlines do I got to put up about NBC, Fusion, Ken Delaney, and all the other D-bags out there again? Russia's doing it again. This is bullshit. They are getting ready to drop another nuclear political tactical bomb on our heads. And if we're not ready because we're tired of hearing about it, we're going to get wrecked again. I'm not doing it. Soros ran the exact same op and his team in Ukraine, as I document in my book there. That's where this headline comes from. Well, how many days we got to put this up? Politico, 2017. Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire.
Well, understand this too. Like the original coup in Ukraine was backed financially by Soros as well. So the entire thing, the entire area, the entire political structure of it, and the people involved have all been manipulated, nudged, funded, directed by you know who, the old control oligarch, setting up this situation, this corrupt situation from which more corruption and wrongdoing can easily flow out of that attack both our country and other countries. One control oligarch.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, this Russia stuff started in Ukraine. I want you to watch something here. I'm going to play this video of Kanakoa coming in a minute. He had it on his Twitter profile, and his Twitter profile is pretty good. But I want you to watch this first. How John Brennan, folks, one of the most dangerous people to ever occupy a position of prominence in the United States government, easily top 5. I put this guy up there. He's a traitor to the United States. There's zero doubt in my mind, and I use my words very deliberately. John Brennan is a traitor to this country. He is a communist, old school Soviet. He is nothing more. He hates this country. He hates everything about it. He is an absolute traitor to this country, John Brennan. One of the top 5 most dangerous people you've ever seen. He marshaled this whole thing, this Ukrainian effort to take down Trump in 2016 by the Russia hoax. Brennan knew about it all. I want you to listen to this. He's with Gowdy up on Capitol Hill. Hat Tip Mays Moore put this out yesterday. And it's worth rewatching. How when he's asked to produce even a basic component of evidence that this 2016 Trump collusion thing was real, he can't even produce a shred of it. Not a single ounce of evidence. They made the whole thing up with the Ukrainians. Take a listen.
Did evidence exist of collusion, coordination, conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russian state actors at the time you learned of 2016 efforts?
I encountered and am aware of information and intelligence that revealed contacts and interactions between Russian officials and U.S. persons involved in the Trump campaign that I was concerned about because of known Russian efforts to suborn such individuals. And it raised questions in my mind, again, whether or not the Russians were able to gain the cooperation of those individuals. I don't know whether or not such collusion, that's your term, such collusion existed. I don't know.
Folks, he absolutely knew. He had a CIA detailee to the White House who had a lot to do with the impeachment hoax. This guy was knee-deep in Brennan, the Ukrainians, and the Hillary Clinton team making up the whole Russia hoax thing. I'm going to show you 2 clips from a video, again, our friend Kanakoa put up on Twitter, about how knee-deep we were in Ukraine in 2014 and how we were messing with everything. Victoria Nuland was involved, Brennan, Biden, all of them. We were screwing up the whole country, and they owed us a favor. And the favor was what? Anyone in the chat? Yeah, the hit on Donald Trump. That was the favor. I'm going to show you. This is going to be an eye-opener next. I'm going to play 2 parts. The first one's quick. How Brennan was knee-deep in this entire coup operation and everything that happened over there, and how Biden later used the whole thing as a piggy bank. Important show, man. You're not going to hear this all put together like this anywhere else. It's important stuff. I've been focused on this for years in these books, and that's why they've been watching what I've been doing. Folks, it's time for you to be awake, not woke. I got one of their blackouts.
Yeah.
Start your day with a hotbed emergency. It's up there with
Hey,
the
man, I wish I had
cinnamon
some
French
good
toast.
sponsors like
I
that. He's
personally
killing
recommend it. That's up to
That's
you.
next
Flavored
level.
coffees are out. Coffee.com/Bongino.
Pudding
Or use
coffee.
coupon code Bales here. Tony's, you're not asking me about Omaha?
Get you
Sale
some
with
winning
the motors
steaks.
and so much more. Semi-annual spring grilling. I love being part of it. I want you to watch this. to show you again what the blob is. You heard Ben's explain it. You heard me describe it in those 2 sections from my book about the Soros circle. This is why, and by the way, Soros gets a lot of the attention, but ladies and gentlemen, I want to just tell you here, and that's why, by the way, the media freaks out when you mention him. But they freak out anytime you mention George, which means what? Which means double down and mention it again. But there are other people out there. He's not the only left-wing donor doing this. Just look it up. There are tons of people out there on the left with big money doing some of the same stuff he's up to. He's just been doing it for a very long time and has an extraordinary amount of contacts. Here's what we were up to in Ukraine. There was a coup in Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen. We were knee-deep in this whole thing. I believe the favor back for us and what we did for the coup and the coup efforts to help the Ukrainians was the hit on Donald Trump, the fake Russia collusion hoax thing, which, as I showed you in the Politico piece, started in Ukraine. I want you to watch this video and get off the Kanakoa thing. This first part is about Brennan, and I want you to listen very carefully what he was up to during the coup. Check this out.
Various people have said that John Brennan, the head of the CIA, traveled possibly under another name to Kyiv. And I just wanted to know, did he travel there? Does it have anything to do with this action?
No, it happened only in some commands from Moscow. I don't know. So,
were you in Kiev recently?
I was in Kiev a couple weeks ago, yes.
Could you tell us what your mission was?
I was out there to interact with our Ukrainian partners and friends.
Oh, he was. He was out there to interact with our Ukrainian partners and friends. This is a communist. This is a straight up anti-American communist. He wasn't doing that at all. They were out there figuring out how to disguise their old Democrat, liberal, swampy Republican, deep state piggy bank operation they were all running out of Ukraine where everybody was getting rich. That's what he was really doing. He didn't really care about the coup. All they cared about at that point was icing out Russia because of specific petrochemical industry business stuff and making sure that no one else on the Ukrainian side that was making money was outed by the incoming prosecutors, intelligence people, and everyone else. That's the only reason he was there. He wasn't there to help anyone, or else it wouldn't have been such a deep, dark secret. Here's the end part of that video. What Joe Biden was up to when he was the point man on Ukraine right around the time of this internal turbulence within the country. Check this out.
It's not clear what happened here, but this is exactly the kind of incident that could really blow this situation up into a civil war.
U.S. officials say the vice president's in Kiev to boost economic and political assistance to authorities there.
Speaking to its new pro-Western leaders, U.S. Vice President Joe Biden pledged to help Ukraine through the crisis, including an aid package of $50 million.
We can help in stabilizing and strengthening Ukraine's economy by helping you withstand the unfair economic pressure being thrust upon you. We stand ready to do that, and I say the American people stand ready.
Even though it's not true.
Ukrainian people deserve to determine their future, again, free from outside interference. And that's what the United States is trying to do. And to the extent that we here at CIA can work with our partners in Ukraine and other areas to give them the information, the capabilities that they need in order to bring stability and security back to the country, we will do that.
Keep in mind, they did none of that. What Brennan did from that point on, because about a year later, Trump starts moving towards the presidential race, is they were working with CIA in Ukraine to, again, foster a false narrative that Trump was colluding with the Russians. They did none of that. Now it's all falling apart, folks. The whole thing is coming apart. People are starting to openly laugh at and mock people like Natasha Bertrand, Fusion Kendallanian, Adam Entios, who was the Flynn guy at the New York Times. These guys are all full of shit. Everybody knows it. The reason I cover this and immigration at the beginning and the attack on Christians, because this is all happening in conjunction with the blob. The only way the blob is effective is when people buy it. Nobody's buying this shit anymore. That's the reason we got to put this stuff out there. Folks, I'm ashamed to tell you this, but I'm not here to pretend I'm better than you or smarter than you and you're all dumb and look at the great damn Bongino. No, that's not what happened. Joe was with me on the air. I did not know Donald Trump at all in 2014. I never met him in my life. I met him afterwards, know him okay now. We're not like best buds, but we know each other well enough, but I didn't know him. And folks, I got to tell you, having been, again, a former federal agent, I was jaded because when I was there doing my work, there were legitimate guardrails to what you could do. When I was an agent, you get in a lot of trouble if you raided someone's house without a warrant, for obvious reasons. So when I first heard, I don't want to be like this point, I don't want to waste your time. Bottom line is this. When I first heard Trump was colluding with the Russians to steal an election, even though I knew it was a left-wing media, I thought to myself, man, that seems pretty serious. They've got an FBI source. Like, how would you fake that? I'm almost ashamed, even for a second, that I thought to myself, I never thought there was something there. To be clear, I thought, could there be? I'm ashamed I trusted these people, even for a millisecond. I didn't trust them to be right. I was thinking FBI and something like this, way too many. I shouldn't say I trusted the people. I should say I trusted the guardrails because I lived in them. That's all gone now. It's all falling apart. These people deserve to be relentlessly and ruthlessly mocked like I mocked Kendallanian this morning on my Twitter. Ruthlessly. America First Legal is a great group. They got a hold of some internal emails from the Biden campaign. Remember the whole Hunter Biden laptop? Russia, that was Russia number 2. You know, Russia number 1, 2016. Russia 2 was the laptop. Russia 3 is happening now. Source ratting out Biden. He's a Russian. It's all bullshit. The guy got locked up again. They threw him in the clink. They don't even want him to have any bail. I'll get to that in a second. I want you to see these internal emails. This is the blob, folks. Look at this email from, yes, John Brennan. You're going to see an email from Brennan, who is disgusting filth, using the blob. NGOs, throw that email up. Former Intel officials, asking them to add their name to the list. Mike Morrell, former Intel guy. What's the list they want him to add to? The list of people who think that the laptop was some function of Russian intelligence. Look at them all on the list. They don't even care. They even put it down in email, these dumbasses. That's how little the blob gives a shit about you. Can I add your name to the list? Look, they even put the names in email. These dumb SOBs. Adding Leon, Sue Gordon, Jay Johnson, George, Lisa Monaco, Mike Rogers. Look at all this. I want you to look at the second email, too. Supposedly from Mike Morrell. We don't really know. It's redacted. No, have folks send to me. I have control of the document. The more former intelligence officers, the better. Campaign will be thrilled. This is what the blob is. Don't overthink it. It is a group of people who hate Trump and hate us and hate the country and have found various mechanisms to make money from the government, stay in power by hurting us. That's all it is. The more intel officials, the better. Yeah. Don't believe anything these people tell you, folks. They're full of shit. Oh, and look at this Fox article. That source who was ready to spill the beans on Biden, who they locked up twice, no bail. I saw someone on Twitter post today, and so right. It's so correct. We're nothing more than just Guantanamo North now in the United States. It's so true. No bail. This guy will not get out before the election because they don't want this guy to talk, this Alexander Smirnov. And keep in mind, he offered to go under 24/7 security surveillance. They said, nope, stay in jail. We are nothing more than Guantanamo North now. All right, I got a couple other things I want to get to, including the, again, humiliating at this point candidacy of Nikki Haley, who keeps embarrassing the party. She is clearly now the choice of the deep state on the Republican side. She's clearly the safe choice. That's why they're telling her to stay in. I've been told from multiple people familiar with the situation that there's a lot of money funding Nikki Haley in the hopes at some point that Trump will either get locked up or some health thing is going to take over and he's going to have to step aside. It is a sick, bizarre strategy. Chatsters, just a quick question for you. I'm serious. Would you support Nikki Haley? Just say something happened to Trump and he had to drop out. We don't want that. Nobody's wishing that. But this is her strategy. I want to get your take on it. If Trump could not proceed, say he drops out for some reason, forget what it is. Doesn't matter right now. It's an open convention. Trump releases his delegates. Is anybody supporting Nikki Haley? I know people would support DeSantis. You probably get some Vivek people. If you had no choice on Trump. No, fuck no, hell no, never. Are there any yeses in here?
No.
Anyone?
No,
Bongino, I think, on vacation today. Guy, have you seen one? There's all I see is no's and hell no's and fuck no's. Nobody. I don't know where she thinks she's got all this groundswell of support.
After I led a campaign to
the
write
only
in
people
Vivek.
seem to be supporting her are a bunch of Democrats and loose-leaning independents who aren't going to vote for Biden in the general anyway. They're going to stay home. Here she is on Fox yesterday. She on Martha McCallum. Is she just making stuff up now? She had this group, the Koch brothers, who, listen, they want to give her money, fine. They give her money. I don't care. You have freedom to give your money to whoever you want. I mean, I'm not a Koch brothers type candidate, but I'm not a candidate at all. But I don't. If they gave you money, they gave you money. If they gave you money for door knockers and paid for the door knockers, just be honest. They give her all this money for her campaign. They pull out yesterday. This is how classless this woman is. And what does she do? Like at the end, watch, she tries to run away from him instead of a thank you or anything like that. Watch this. This is who Nikki Haley really is. Check this out.
Before I let you go, I mean, every other candidate wanted to have the backing of Koch, the Koch brothers. They have now said they're going to stand down at this point. How does that change your dynamic? Real quick, if you can, Governor.
It doesn't change our dynamic. They weren't helping us from a monetary standpoint. They were door knockers and phone callers.
They weren't giving, you didn't get any money from them?
No money from them, no.
What? I mean, how unbelievably classless. Listen, I run campaigns. You know that. You get support from a group. They give you door knockers, pay for the door knockers, pay for the hangers on the what we would call a lit drop, L-I-T. No, not lit like smoking weed, lit like literature. You go and you get to, vote Haley, whatever. If they paid for it, you don't shit on them on national TV. I don't care who they are. Oh, I don't like the Koch brothers. Well, fine. I don't know that. I don't recall them ever getting involved ever in any of my campaigns ever. But that's who she is. Oh no, they didn't help. They didn't help. Imagine how like their group and people who went knocked on doors feel now. How about just a quick thank you? That's who Nikki Haley is. That's exactly who Nikki Haley is. It's who Nikki Haley's always been. Folks, as I said in the beginning of the show, and I think I've tied it together pretty well, I hope.
They always give money.
Your government right now is actively working against you. It is not a case of malfeasance, misfeasance, excuse me. It's a case of malfeasance. They are actively trying to hurt you. Immigration, working with the media to engage in religious attacks on faith-based people, pro-lifers and otherwise. The government spying on you. Our CIA fostering coups and working overseas and getting political favors as payback. This is all stuff being funded with your money. As I'm talking about this yesterday on the air, our good friend Kyle Seraphin, everybody in the chat know Kyle. Kyle's an FBI agent. He left. He became a whistleblower. He now has his own show. He's become a big success. Kyle Seraphin sends me the message. He goes, you got to check out this tweet I just put out. You know this alleged killer, this guy Ibarra, who is a suspect, a lead suspect in the murder of Laken Riley near the University of Georgia. I'm sure you've heard the case. In the country illegally, an extensive history with law enforcement. You want to hear some really effed up right now. He notes in his tweet, he's hearing from FBI sources that Ibarra, accused of murdering Laken Riley near University of Georgia, was actually investigated by the FBI El Paso for assault on a federal officer. He allegedly engaged in a physical assault against 2 officials from DHS. He was told the case against Ibarra was closed administratively. In his experience, that would mean the U.S. attorney for the Western District of Texas declined the prosecution. An email declination to pursue the case is enough for closing on the FBI side. Someone should have that email. Are you telling me again that the FBI, which has clearly been busy again in another plot to take out Donald Trump in Russia Hoax 3, 1, 2, 3, the third time the FBI is trying to jam it up the caboose of America with the Russia bullshit, that while they're busy with another fake Russia plot, that an illegal immigrant in the country suspected of a murder may have been investigated by the FBI for assaulting 2 federal officials and nobody did a freaking thing about it? And folks, do not give the Department of Justice a pass either. The Department of Justice, the FBI does not prosecute. Everybody understands that in the chat. I know you all are smart. The FBI does not prosecute. They investigate. However, they could have pushed for this thing. How many times is the FBI going to come into contact with bad people who get away while coming into contact with good people they make bad people, i.e. political opponents? The Department of Justice are the ones who prosecute. If this is true, someone in Joe Biden's DOJ said, let this guy out. And you know, people throw around the term blood on their hands often. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a real case. And for all the media people trying to make a Republicans pounce out of this, you can go F yourselves, okay? You got blood on your hands too for covering this up. You're filth and you're garbage.
That's right.
I want you to see this clip again. Listen, I don't know Dr. Phil at all. It don't matter to me. I don't get into personalities. It's kind of weird though.
Phil killed it. Dr. Phil killed it. You didn't see him on The View? Yeah. Redemption arc. There, he needs one. He has one. But real quick.
Oh my!
Wolfram with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Wolfram, for the $10 super chat. Checking to see if Shelly is awake. Yep, she is. And she says, boobies. All right. Thanks for the $10 super chat and the wellness check on Shelly. And there you go. There's the boobies.
Oprah created all these personalities, Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, and they all turned it seemingly against the far left. I don't know these guys. Again, I don't get into personalities. I don't care. I get into results. I hope everybody understands that. However, your government, again, is your worst enemy right now. More people are being hurt because of government right now than just about any other organization in the United States. Dr. Phil went on The View yesterday. I want you to watch this clip. It's a little over a minute, but it's important. We don't get into personalities. No need to throw a victory parade on any of this shit, okay? But watch what happens when these useful morons on The View, who are so used to being told what to do by the government, are finally confronted when Dr. Phil's like, listen, man, this government thing with the COVID shutdowns, this is probably going to wind up killing more people than COVID. Take a look.
Like 08, 09, smartphones came on. And kids they stopped living their lives and started watching people live their lives. And so we saw the biggest spike and the highest levels of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and suicidality since records have ever been kept. And it's just continued on and on and on. And then COVID hits 10 years later, and the same agencies that knew that are the agencies that shut down the schools for 2 years. Who does that? Who takes away the support system for these children? Who takes them away and shuts it down? And by the way, when they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused and sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers with no way to watch, and referrals dropped 50 to 60%. So
there was also a pandemic going on. They were trying to save
kids' lives. Remember, we know a lot of folks who died during this. So it wasn't, people weren't laying around.
Yeah, you know a lot of folks.
Well, you know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're lucky they didn't, because we kept them out of the places that they could be sick, because no one wanted to believe we had an issue.
Are you saying no school children died of COVID?
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group, and they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
You see how these useful idiots
Yeah,
are
the
so used to
mismanagement.
taking instructions from their government overlords and acting like subjects, that when someone who's not even really a conservative, as far as I know, Dr. Phil just confronts them with an obvious fact that the data backs up. These morons just can't take it because their government, small g God, will be shown to have been ineffective on their show, and they've got to stop it. Suckers. Your government hates you. And these people are so obviously appendages of this failed blob. You see the looks in their faces as they're crapping their diapers, realizing he's right? Look at this tweet by Francie Hakes, who's a really great legal analyst. Again, your government hates you. You've got a prosecutor in Georgia, Fani Willis, a disgrace to freaking humankind, an embarrassment to her family, the cosmos, her neighbors, Fulton County, Georgia, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Mars, and the Milky Way. A piece of human garbage who gets cold busted in this illicit affair she's having with a guy she chooses to hire to go and prosecute Trump, her political opponent, for a fake crime. Someone gets a hold of her cell phone records. Long and short of it, she says something to the effect of, well, this guy wasn't around me during this time. Well, the cell phone records seem to show that that guy's cell phones were around you during that time. Look at what this jerkwad does. Keep in mind, she's a prosecutor. She says the records do not prove in any way the contents of communications between Prosecutor Wade and District Attorney Fani Willis. They don't prove Wade was ever at any particular location and address. They do not prove Wade and Willis were ever in the same place during the times listed in the exhibit.
Not right.
What's the problem with this, folks? The problem is this woman is a prosecutor in Fulton County. She is one of the lead law enforcement officials there. And because she's such human filth and garbage and such a disgrace to humankind, she's now jeopardized every single case she's made where they've used, cell phone records to put someone in a specific place at a specific time, because now it's on the record in a legal document that she says she doesn't trust cell phone records. That's your government for you. Dumbasses. They hate you. And when you understand that, you learn to treat them like tools. Hey, can we skip ahead to the New York Post story I want to end with Obama, because it's important. Folks, again, Joe, can you just unflag this immediately? Jim, too, just prematurely unflag it, because we got to get the flag book under control. Folks, do we have an unflag it, like a flag with the thing for the chatsters? Remember I told you the special prosecutor, Robert Hur, H-U-R, the report about Biden and the classified documents saying he was basically mentally incompetent and that no jury would convict him. You remember the story? The gist of it was very simple. Yeah, Biden took these classified documents, but he's too old and senile. No jury will convict him. What did I tell you? I said it was an Obama-sanctioned hit job. Robert Hur is a Rod Rosenstein acolyte. This guy is a big-time D.C. insider. The Obama team wants him out. Him? Who's him? Biden. That was a hit job, that report on Biden. Now you can unflag it. I see the flags. We got to unflag this sucker. New York Post. Former Biden. I keep doing that. Obama. I do it all. Doesn't everybody do it? Former, because it's the same thing. They're two idiots. Former Obama aides sound the alarm over frail and mumbling Joe Biden. Warn that his age is a very real issue. Ladies and gentlemen, unflag it immediately. Producer Jim, unflag it. Take it out of the flag book. I told you, these guys are engaged right now in a coordinated hit to get Joe Biden to step aside. The Robert Hur report was just the beginning. It was just the beginning. Listen to me. Folks, if you're new to the show, if you're not new, I'm going to say this again because it's worth repeating. I was there. I was in that White House for 2 years? The Biden White House. Obama Biden. I was there. They hate each other. Stop. They do not like each other. Biden needs Obama because Obama is very popular and can help him get out the vote. Obama needs Biden because Biden knows about all the corruption in the Obama years because he was part of it. They need each other. That's the only reason they pretend to like one another. And I'm going to remind you about one more thing, too. One of the reasons they're covering up this whole thing, this Ukraine plot with Brennan and the CIA to set up Trump, is because they don't want Obama's name tarnished. The media doesn't care about Biden anymore. They throw him under the bus tomorrow if it didn't implicate Obama if he wasn't his vice president. But I want you to remember, too, the genesis of this whole thing was to get Hillary Clinton elected. Hillary Clinton had this private server that was becoming a huge scandal. The Trump-Russia collusion thing generated in Ukraine was a distraction from that. And the reason the media went all in to protect Hillary was not just that they hated Trump and they liked Hillary. They were protecting Obama, too. Joe knows the reason why. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, Hillary's email scandal is not about Hillary. Yeah, it is, Dan. No, it isn't. Nobody cares about Hillary anymore. Hillary's email scandal is about Obama. She was Obama's Secretary of State. Folks, she was emailing Obama on her private email, and everyone in the White House knew about it. The White House Communication Agency, WHCA, WHCA, had to whitelist her email address. Do you understand that? Somebody had to okay Hillary Clinton's private email for classified information. And I'm telling you, it came from one Barack Obama himself. He had to know about Hillary's email. Why? He was receiving them from her private email. That's the reason they're covering this whole thing up. It is not to protect Hillary or Biden. It's to protect Obama. They're small g God. That's why. Don't ever forget that. No one's ever picked up on that story. I don't know why. What did Obama know? When did he know it? All right, folks, I really appreciate you tuning in. Please download the Rumble app. Rumble's been exploding in popularity thanks to you. We so deeply appreciate it. 118,000 people here today. So good to have you. Download the Rumble app. Start an account. It's free. Join us every day at 11 a.m. Rumble.com/Bongino or on the Rumble app for the live show. We love your polls. We love your we love your polls. You would say that, Joe. Don't say that. We love the results of the polls.
Yeah,
we love the interaction with you. I get on sometimes like 9:30, 9:15.
Rumble.
And that's just kind of hilarious.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Can someone throw that up there on like this?
All right. There you have it, man. In-depth, detailed, and packed full of information you probably have never heard before. But the way he draws a connection to somebody that understands how it all works. Key. Now, I got one more thing for you guys. A little addendum here. In case you didn't know, and I hope you enjoyed that. It's very informative, especially if you're watching it on the rewatch. Hope you guys got a lot out of that. Thank you. Now, in case you didn't hear, today James O'Keefe dropped another bombshell undercover investigation, and he did a sting on the judge in the Trump trial, and that dropped this afternoon. And I wanted to just go over that and in a brief way, but I will bring in Penny Johnson to help us with that, and we will we'll see that this guy has some very bizarre behavior going on. Very bizarre indeed. Watch the whole thing live myself, and then watch the call in afterwards, or I guess the circles or whatever. It was pretty hilarious. They had a Trump impersonator that came in. It was really good. He sounded just like Trump. Like you thought for a second it was Trump. They started hitting the jokes, and it was like, okay, that can't be Trump. But man, it was really good. It was really good. And they had an Elon impersonator, but I think that was a impersonator. If it was okay. I don't think it was actually Elon, but anyways, he dropped this bombshell. He went to a gym and did some undercover investigation, and well, let's just take it away here.
4002. I
Let's
wasn't
take our
expecting
scene.
company. Master's my friend.
Ingor.
Just doing my workout.
Ingoran.
Tuesdays arms and back. I don't know if you heard me counting. I did over 1,000. Oh, it's a deep burn.
Wicked, crazy, false. I hate you. Go away.
What's up, guys? Boy Benny. So I'm no lawyer, nor am I a legal expert, but I have watched quite a few trials and sort of seen the way the gears of justice turn in this country. And if you walk into a courtroom and the judge smirks at you and goes like this, then you are screwed, man. You are screwed. This was the footage of Judge Arthur Aggernon, the old, dirty, degenerate hippie who is trying to put Donald Trump out of business in the city of New York. Judge Arthur Ederson decided to smug and mug at the camera because he, views himself as a celebrity, views himself as a real hot item, and wants you to know that Trump derangement syndrome, orange man bad libs, he is your savior. So worship him. Watch this.
Will be thrilled. And that's the problem, is that, you have James now being shown in the background. You've got Trump in the foreground.
Takes off his camera.
And it fulfills the narrative on both sides. Trump is likely right. I mean, he's being shown.
So unfortunately, we all happen to be right about this grinning idiot, and there is no law in this country left anymore, just political Marxist weaponization of our courts. This guy found that Donald Trump was guilty of effectively simply practicing real estate, and by estimating the worth of his assets, he was fined $355 million by the court, plus interest that accounts to nearly $500 million. The state of New York going after Donald Trump and his family and his business simply because they don't like his politics. So the rule of law is dead, and they used the courtroom of Judge Arthur Ederson, a known creep. Angry Arthur disrobed Trump New York trial judge posts nude bonus torso photos on his blog. Okay. So here you go. Something you never wanted to see. This guy with his shirt off.
You never wanted to see
Arthur
this.
Ederson, apparently really excited about the fact that he has the body type of a decaying zombie that has been trapped in a sewer for a very long time, and has just been released to go terrorize the neighborhood. And terrorize he does. In fact, Judge Arthur Ederson's wife is so biased against Donald Trump that she attacks him regularly on social media. Wife of Ederson, in civil case against Trump, has been attacking ex-president on social media, posting like literally deranged screeds. So this is what happened. They court shopped, ladies and gentlemen, and they got a judge. They found a judge who obviously is like some type of like sicko degenerate, right? Who likes to post naked photos of himself for people who weren't asking. Obviously rule against Donald Trump to try and bankrupt him, to try and rig, again, another election. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure and happiness, joy, that we bring you the humiliation of Arthur Ederson, as James O'Keefe found him working out at an Equinox gym. James O'Keefe just posted this video, in part, of confronting Arthur Ederson with a question. Hey, we got to get all those MAGAs out of New York, right? Right? And then Arthur Ederson agreeing with him. Does that mean the guy can be disbarred? Can this be used by Donald Trump in his case in order to say that this was obviously a biased judge and this was politically motivated? We shall see. Here's the video.
I decided to work out alongside him. I'm a huge fan. Huge fan. Thank you for what you did. Thank you so much. For what? Thank you for what you did. Man, that must have felt good. Making these modern people out of the state. Just thank you for allowing my heart.
What's your day job?
I was wearing the OMG t-shirt which said O'Keefe Media Group, but the judge didn't know who I was. My day job, I work in publishing. I print magazines. But I really means a lot to me.
So just to recap, the judge that just struck Donald Trump with a $500 million ruling was just confronted by James O'Keefe saying, we got to get all these MAGA people out of New York. And he goes, yeah, thank you. Well, interesting. Sounds like grounds for a mistrial.
He's on that. You're all mine, man. So keep it up. Thank you.
Yep. Canyon 15 reps. We want to keep a nice tall chest, but we're not next to low.
I get it.
What's your name?
Jim. Keep it up. Keep up the good work.
So he also then adds on that there's a lot of hatred in the MAGA movement. Again, not something that a judge should be saying on camera. Did he know he was on camera? Not exactly sure. He's been hit with ethics complaints before. Elise Stefanik, very powerful congresswoman from New York, says that the New York trial judge has exposing himself with bizarre behavior and bias. Stefanik says Edgerton's behavior has no place in our judicial system and that she is filing complaints against him and the entire commission that allows him to wear a robe. And he shouldn't be allowed to wear a robe because by his own admission, the guy is actually a biased, dirty creep. Here's the video of Arthur Edgerton saying he just doesn't care what a jury thinks in any specific ruling. He's just going to rule however the hell he wants to because he's already decided whether he likes someone or whether someone's guilty. There's not the way it's supposed to work, ladies and gentlemen. So very good for us to see what is actually happening. Please enjoy the destruction of the judicial system. The more we can play this video, the better. God bless James O'Keefe. Protect this man at all costs.
And
here's
there's
Edgerton saying, yeah, I just decide whatever case I want, and I'm a biased asshole. All right, we believe you. Go.
Now, I'm going to say something controversial, even though I'm being taped. Juries get it wrong a lot. That's my own opinion. I do only civil trials, personal injury cases, contract disputes. But I've had situations where, like, oh my heaven's sake, how could they have thought that? Well, I have a tool that I can deal with that. It's called jury notwithstanding the verdict, judgment notwithstanding the verdict. I can say there is no possible way that a reasonable jury would have reached that conclusion. And all right, am I following the law or am I making law? Okay, I'm following law. I'm an impartial referee, but it's hard to factor out my own emotions. And I have tools. Somebody can say, well, Your Honor, you have to throw out this case because it's just like another case. Well, is it just like another case? What if the defendant was wearing a red sweater instead of a blue sweater? Oh, and by the way,
semantics.
I worked for the Columbia Daily Spectator for a couple of weeks. What happened was I went there every day and I wrote a few stories. One I got criticized on because I wrote that some Ku Klux Klanners had murdered some people, and I was told, you can't say that. How do we know? You weren't there. Well, that was what everybody thought. Anyway, yeah, we should have absolute immunity. What if we defame somebody? That's how it usually comes up. You know, you call somebody a murderer or a heroin addict, that sort of thing, a pedophile. And if it's done in court, yeah, I think we should have absolute immunity.
Interesting, huh? I can see the complete video, and there's a lot more to it. Like, he actually was going up to girls in the gym, and like he would approach them, and everything he has a habit of doing this, and other people in the gym have videotaped him, have videoed him doing this. He goes up to the chicks in the younger chicks in the gym. You saw him, right? And he says something, and he kind of engages in a conversation with them, and they're nice at first, and then inevitably throughout the conversation he says something that makes them very shocked, and then they kind of like have this, like, you know, put their hands up, kind of like go away kind of thing going on with them. And evidently he's known for doing this in the gym. So go check out the full video on O'Keefe's channel, and he did it in a long stream today. So check it out there. But this just came in. I was going to end it right there, but then I saw this. Oops, not that. I saw this. This just broke. So you guys get some breaking news here. Evidently, Chicago or Illinois, that is, did not get the memo that this is not cool, and so it doesn't work. They'll probably get turned over, but evidently sometime tonight, they decided to take Trump off the ballot. And since we're talking about a lot of issues tonight and dealing with corruption and trying to election interference and so on, well, this kind of fits right in, doesn't it? Bringing Benny back in. Let's go.
Every time we hit it, we make it more powerful. We can't attack.
What are you saying?
I'm saying it's unkillable.
What's up, guys? Boy, Benny. Life certainly does imitate art. For years now, we have been playing this clip of the mentally ill screaming lib, full-blown Trump derangement syndrome, laughing and making memes and thinking it's really, really funny. Little did we realize how utterly deep-rooted this was inside of the Democrat Party. This is, in fact, the emotional and mental and IQ state of the modern-day Democrat Party. This is the leftist movement, perfectly encapsulated into a screaming, perfectly deranged, unhappy, bitter, miserable, androgynous lib who has nothing to live for now that Donald Trump has been elected president. Life is over, right? And so we must stop Donald Trump from being elected president. We must break every single rule. We must rip him from the ballots, and it doesn't matter. The laws be damned. The Supreme Court be damned. The Constitution be damned. We don't like Donald Trump, so everything is permissible. Breaking: Donald Trump has been removed from Illinois Republican primary ballots after a judge orders him to be disqualified over the roll on January 6th. This wasn't even the Supreme Court. This wasn't even like a state elected official, like in Maine, like an attorney general. Not that any of those are even better. So like Colorado or Maine. This is literally just a single judge inside of the insane Cook County judiciary. This judge is a lunatic, a Trump deranged sociopath. And she just decided herself that she didn't like Trump and therefore you can't vote for Trump. I mean, it is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it is breathtaking. The derangement. We used to laugh at it. Now you are seeing it on full display. And it is so utterly embarrassing, actually, for these people. Remember, this is the party of, but my democracy, but my democracy. Here's the judge, Cook County Circuit Judge Tracy Porter, who wears a little butterfly necklace. Tracy Porter. Some absolute dingbat has decided that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection, even though he hasn't been charged with insurrection. Donald Trump's been charged with 500,000 things. Insurrection isn't one of them. And even though the insurrection case and stripping Trump off the ballot, the 14th Amendment case that they're all using is going down in flames. So this is clearly somebody who's trying to just make a name for herself. It's become really, quite frankly, embarrassing. But this is also from Cook County, and there's a real reason why somebody in Cook County would wish to strike Donald Trump from the ballot. The reason would obviously be that that's where Barack Obama is from. And also Cook County is the single county in Illinois that allows Democrats to win Illinois. Without that one county, Donald Trump wins Illinois by a massive margin. Donald Trump wins every other county in Illinois. That single county, which of course is Chicago, encapsulates and encompasses all of the voter bloc in Illinois. And so this lady wishes to essentially preserve that, along with preserving, potentially just styling her hair like Donald Trump's. What is this with like Joey Reid and this lady? Like, why are they all getting Trump hair? They're obsessed with him. They just want Trump to pay attention to them. It's obvious what's going on here. Pay attention to me, Donald. Judge orders President Trump removed from ballot in Illinois. Oh boy. Not like Cook County doesn't have other bad things going on. Judge orders the removal of Trump from the state ballot. Yes, this is happening all over again, ladies and gentlemen.
The great defenders of democracy have now kicked Trump off another state ballot. Of course, this happened in Cook County, and Illinois Circuit Judge Tracy Porter has ruled that former President Trump is disqualified from the state's March 19th primary ballot and the general election over the, quote, anti-insurrection clause.
Oh, okay. You got him this time. Oh, boy, you got him this time. The 14th Amendment. Well, that is actually before the Supreme Court right now. So this Illinois judge has acted by herself, effectively. One radical judge can remove a presidential candidate from the ballot because she doesn't like him. I mean, that is true. Like, because she's just a miserable, bitter person, right? You can see that, quite frankly, from her resume here. Illinois Supreme Court appoints Tracy Porter, at-large circuit judge. She's not even on the Supreme Court. She's a circuit judge for Cook County. She's spent her entire career working for the federal government or academia. That's it. That's it. She worked at the Department of Labor. Okay. So she is a left-wing Marxist Department of Labor, and she's focused on equity and diversity and inclusion in all of her work.
WEF.
Oh, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Porter is not married. Miss Porter is a proud aunt and surrogate mother to 2 nieces and nephews. Ladies and gentlemen, find things that actually provide lasting meaning in your life. Do not get bogged down in slaving away for the man and miss the actual overall greater meaning in life. Seriously, fall in love, get married, have kids. It actually provides much better purpose and clarity to life. You don't become such a lunatic Like these people who have nothing to live for but politics, nothing to live for but Trump. Like if you're a normal centered person with purpose in life, then you don't look like this. This is literally the judge in Chicago right now. There you go. All right, so let's look at this sucker. Judge orders President Trump removed from the ballot in Illinois. On Wednesday, judge removed Donald Trump from the state's ballot.
Who thinks
the decision made based on?
Who thinks this is going to be anything? Is it? I mean, it's funny. I don't. But do you think that this is going to stick? There's no way it's going to stick.
The invasion clause in the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Yet Chicago is literally
like
experiencing
retread.
their own invasion right now of criminal aliens.
Like she's like the one that's always like real late to the party. You know, like, oh wait, I was supposed to do this 3 months ago.
But nothing's been done for that. In her ruling, Judge Porter says that she knows her decision could not be the ultimate outcome. These people, they don't believe in God. They believe they themselves are gods on this earth, and they act like it. It's derangement. It's true derangement. She's reviewed an extensive body of evidence and from MSNBC, I'm sure, and determined that he's disqualified from the presidency. Oh, thank you, Judge. You're so special. Judge Porter. It's a critical decision adding to the decisions of Colorado and Maine. Oh, wow. Stephen Chung, a spokesperson of the Trump campaign, downplayed the decision, attributing it to a Democrat activist liberal judge in Illinois who summarily overruled the state's Board of Elections and contradicted earlier decisions from dozens of other state and federal jurisdictions. It's an unconstitutional ruling, and we will quickly appeal. So this is what Stephen Chung said. He's the spokesperson for Donald Trump. So Jonathan Turley, one of our favorite political commentators, legal commentators, said a Cook County judge, Tracy Porter, just added Illinois to the 2 other states stripping Trump from the ballot. While wildly popular with people in Cook County, where I was raised, this is of course the Democrat supernova superstructure in Illinois. It is wildly at odds with our Democrat values. Rather than wait for the court to rule, Porter waited to claim the distinction while giving Trump's counsel just a couple days to appeal. Really, these people, like Stalin and Lenin, would be really proud of these people. Speaking of potential issues that perhaps were more important than something that Donald Trump hasn't been charged with, and a post-Civil War Reconstruction amendment in the Constitution, 617 people were murdered in Chicago last year. There are 2,500 shootings, but this is what Democrats are worried about. Yeah, that's right. Democrat Chicago is a literal hellhole. But Trump, right? But Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, the Supreme Court has been destroying these cases and listened to the petitioner from Colorado trying to explain why they think that liberal judges should summarily be allowed to deny Americans the right to vote. Here we go.
I would suggest that there would at least be a few examples of national candidates being disqualified, if your reading is correct.
Well, there were certainly national candidates who were disqualified by Congress refusing to seat them.
I understand that, but that's not this case. If you are right, what are the examples?
Well, Your Honor, the examples are states excluded many candidates for state office, individuals holding state offices.
I understand the states controlling state elections and state positions. What we are talking about here are national candidates.
Okay, getting absolutely hammered, getting the swift gavel of Clarence Thomas shoved directly up your ear. Ketanji Brown Jackson, one of the lowest IQ, very low wattage members of the court, even she is saying, isn't this against democracy? Like how can one state decide who's allowed to run for president? That fundamentally does not seem to work and also could horribly backfire. There's a clip that is going around right now from a Lex Friedman podcast that just dropped, Tucker Carlson, kind of perfectly explaining what's going on here. Tucker Carlson talking about how Democrats will and have already broken every single rule in order to rig and meddle in American elections because they hate Trump so much. That Trump has truly broken these people and they'll never return to sanity. And they wish to take the country down with them. I mean, if they can't have full control of this place, they'll burn it to the ground. Tucker Carlson talking about how elections get rigged and stolen by Democrats breaking the rules.
100% stolen. Are you joking?
It was rigged to that large of a degree.
They completely change the way people vote right before the election on the basis of COVID, which had nothing to do.
So in that way, it was rigged, meaning
and then
manipulated.
Then you censor the information people are allowed to get. Anyone who complains about COVID, which is by the way, it might have hurt Trump, but I mean, it's whatever. I mean, you could play it many different ways. You can't have censorship in a democracy by definition. Here's how it works: the people rule. They vote for representatives to carry their agenda to the capital city and get it enacted. That's how they're in charge. And then every few years, they get to reassess the performance of those people in an election. In order to do that, they need access, unfettered access to information. And no one, particularly not people who are already in power, is allowed to tell them what information they can have. They have to have all information that they want. Whether the people in charge want it or don't want it, or think it's true or think it's false, doesn't matter. And the second you don't have that, you don't have a democracy. It's not a free election, period.
Tucker Carlson doing that interview, presumably before states started stripping Donald Trump off the ballot. I think that these interviews are filmed way ahead of their actual release, right? And so, ladies and gentlemen, Tucker Carlson talking about simply the rigging of information and censorship and the election procedures, which of course we all knew. So many election procedures were illegal in 2020. So many procedures to check mail-in ballots, check signature verifications, and so forth were shoved down the throats of states, done in a way that was totally unconstitutional, and done in a way that would, of course, benefit Joe Biden. But now they're terrified. Now that Trump has come roaring back, and he's more popular than ever, and he's pulling outside the margins of fraud. So they need to depend on people like this. Lunatics and activists like this that are trying to make a name for themselves, or presumably, mark my words, run for office, right? That's what's going to happen. Letitia James, this is going to be like run for office. Fani Willis, Letitia James, this is like a card that you play that you did this to Donald Trump. This should, in every sane society, be the destroyer of your career, and we need to make it the destroyer of your career. There's some expert that was just on Laura Ingram's show talking about how there needs to be penalties for these kind of judges. Like these kind of judges that like overrule like the state boards and act way outside of the boundary of what is legal and what is common law. Like there needs to be penalties enacted. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with this very frank and profound discussion on the topic. I think that is actually the way that you fix these things. Judges must know that there will be professional consequences to them if they are seen to be political activists from the bench and using their office for political agenda and enrichment. Period. Right? I think that's like obvious when it comes to these kind of cases. When it comes to this, right? She overruled like hundreds of other people and people inside the judiciary and the Illinois Elections Board to just say, I'm God, I don't like Trump, TDS, Orange Man bad, right? Consequences for judges. This is the next thing that must happen. Professional consequences for judges. Okay? This is the conversation on Laura Ingraham. Here we go.
Trump off another state ballot. Of course, this happened in Cook County, and Illinois Circuit Judge Tracy Porter has ruled that former President Trump is disqualified from the state's March 19th primary ballot and the general election over the, quote, anti-insurrection clause. Joining me now is Saul Weisenberg, former deputy independent counsel and Fox News contributor, and also back with us because of this breaking news, David Schoen, former Trump impeachment attorney. Saul, this never ceases to amaze me, but as all of these individuals are screaming about Russian election interference, Navalny is persecuted, all these political prisoners across, and now they need to knock him off the ballot. So no one has the opportunity to vote for him. Your reaction tonight?
Well, the arrogance of this is appalling, and waiting until this late in the day to do it, giving the former president, just until Friday to file an appeal to the Supreme Court. It's already Wednesday. And then to say, apparently at the end of it, she issues an order that says my ruling will be further stayed if the U.S. Supreme Court enters an opinion inconsistent with this order. Well, guess what? If they do what most people think they're going to do, they're going to enter an opinion that makes it impossible for Illinois to take him off the ballot. So the arrogance of that is just, it shouldn't astonish me, but it does.
Yeah, Tracy Porter, a Democrat appointee, joined the bench in 2021. Very, very liberal. Cook County is known for these type of judges. David, 31 states in total now have sued to kick the former president off the ballot. All right. Again, I want to repeat to everybody, as the Democrats are claiming they're running Joe Biden for re-election to protect democracy. They have to defeat Trump to protect democracy. Okay. All three have been successful. Those states in red, Maine, Colorado, and now Illinois. How is this democracy, David?
It's not democracy. It's as anti-democratic as it gets. They're going to get slammed by the Supreme Court. Illinois has long, and especially Cook County, long been heavy-handed with ballot access. I had to go into the federal district court there to challenge the constitutionality of ballot access law. Another heavy-handed move they made. They slammed them. They were so adamant about it. When I went to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, they sent 6 lawyers in to argue against me, and they lost again. They're going to lose this time. It's horrible. It sends a terrible message to the American people. Why are they afraid of the ballot? The ballot is what really makes this country work.
Yeah, they're looking at the polls. If Trump were down 30 points in the polls, I don't think any of these cases would have been brought. But Alito raised a good point at the oral arguments. Watch.
If what Colorado did here is sustained, other states are going to retaliate. They're going to potentially exclude another candidate from the ballot. What about that situation?
I don't think that this court should take those threats too seriously in its resolution of this case.
You don't think that's a serious threat?
Well, that's one of many great points that were raised in the obviously the seminal case that will decide all of this, Saul. But I mean, this could be keep going forward, tit for tat. You take my guy off, we're going to take your guy off, and so on and so on.
Then there's nobody to vote for.
Well, it's not going to be because the Supreme Court is going to issue an opinion that makes it clear that a state does not have the power to do this. Number one, the state can't kick him off the ballot. Number two, the state cannot put a condition on being a presidential on the presidential ballot that is greater than what the Constitution calls for. So I don't think we're gonna reach that. But it's very, you know what they say about Cook County: vote early and vote often. Yeah. So as David says, this is completely consistent with their pathetic history of election non-integrity.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting election fraud. Here's what Judge Tracy Porter, who was responsible for this outrageous decision tonight in Illinois, this is what she said when she was appointed back in 2021. She said, "My motto is impacting lives and changing communities, and that is how I will approach this new position." David, last time I checked, that's not the role of a judge. That's the role perhaps of an activist or an NGO or maybe a representative. But she's put it right out there for us.
Yeah, and actually her role ought to be enforcement of the Constitution, the First and 14th Amendment rights of the voters to vote for a candidate of their choice and of the candidate to be on the ballot. This is absolutely wrong. It's going to get slammed, but they ought to shut it down immediately. And she should probably be sanctioned because she knows what she did is wrong. Right. She knows the matter is pending at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so that's a very good point. I mean, not to get too wonky here, but they know this is going to be overturned. But it was like she had to put down her chit here and say, I'm with those people. Like she wanted to get recognition for doing this. This was an act of complete narcissism on her part.
Oh, yeah. Well, how about that? It went right along with what we were talking about tonight, how they're leaving Nikki Haley on, putting a bunch of irons in the fire, trying to many different ways to already go against the will of the people, to disgrace the election, to dismantle it. Yep. We knew it'd be an exciting year. Hey, we're almost in March. Only 3 months in, and it's already pretty damn exciting. All kinds of things to look forward to. When will Nikki Haley drop out? Who will be Trump's VP? What's going on with all these states trying to take them off the ballot? Will any of them get away with it? Will the Supreme Court rule in a blanket ruling to stop all these across the nation? That would be great. That'd be a good use of that office, that branch of government. Let's just go ahead and make this federal. Stop trying to keep off the ballot. Maybe they'll make them force them to have to declare January 6th was not an insurrection, because it wasn't, at least not by the people they think it was. Let's see what you guys are saying out here. The only way to have a sitting judge removed from the bench is contacting politicians. Well, they can resign in disgrace too, I hope. Let the states remove whoever they want. Oh, that's your unpopular opinion? Well, yeah, but then what happens when you have an activist judge speaking on the whole state's behalf? You have to get everybody in the state to agree to that. Maybe IRL. Those people accepted or revolt. Yeah, but you don't want to have it dictated to them, right? You're talking about a fair election where everybody has a say. I'm sure, knowing you, I'm pretty sure that's what you mean. That is a clear statement of judicial activism. Yes. Right. Not even. It's already been pretty damn exciting. We got one more day left because that year, every 4 years, it's leap year, it's the Olympics, and then it's the presidential election. That's how I used to remember it. 3 things happen every 4 years. Probably more than that, but the top 3 that I remember. The justices are not supposed to be activists. Hell yeah. Not at all. So I don't trust the people to get off their asses and make the right decisions. They are lazy and broken and corrupt. So anything that moves the ball on a national divorce, I support. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Strategic. Yes. Legislating from the bench. It's unconstitutional. Tomorrow is the last day of February. Yes. It's 29th, that rare 29th. Anybody born on the 29th, you finally get your birthday. You waited 4 years for your birthday and it's here. Yep, they're not allowed to take our rights away, especially voting rights. Yep. They'll try to take them away, try to manipulate it. So you can only choose what they want you to choose. That's the way it's been working. The illusion of choice. I think Shelley said that earlier. Something like that. It's the illusion of choice. Absolutely. Yeah, so that slides right into the plans. So, the whole thing's starting to shake out a little bit. So what do we got to keep an eye on? Got to keep an eye on all different ways they're going to try to take Trump out, and we got to keep an eye on who they're going to try to throw in there as a replacement. Now, what would it say about how in coordination Haley is with the establishment? Well, we know that she is, right? But outwardly, like beyond just people who know the truth, right? If she was to just happen to be hanging on the entire time for no damn reason, just imagine like seeing this from a different perspective, like from your friend trapped in the first veil, the establishment narrative perspective, right? Like one of those folks. All of a sudden you're wondering why she won't drop out. You don't like her anyways because you're probably voting for the establishment. And then Trump gets taken out, and then some one way or another, he doesn't end up running for in the general, and she slides in there, right? Like it would look, even to them, I think it would look a little bit coordinated. But what proof that they work together, that it's a false left-right paradigm at that point? What better proof? Plus, they had you voting for her in the primaries. You got the emails from the activist groups. Hey, we need to get out and do this. This is why. You don't think all those people just decided to do it on their own, do you? They were very much directed and given the directive to go vote for her. They weren't just all like, I had this brilliant idea at the same time. Hey, guess what? We should just go vote against them in the primaries. Yeah. Oh, you thought that too? Wow, it just came to me out of nowhere. Yeah. No, they were totally directed. Again, we're just keep a list of all the different rigging attempts. And luckily people are like hip, man. So like hopefully none of them get through. I hope we're catching all of them. A lot of these are like really on the surface though. They're really on the surface. So there's got to be some under the surface stuff that's going to happen. And one thing O'Keefe was talking about today, and this is perfect timing, by the way, is he has this thing, this new group called I think it's called the Swipe Reporters, Swipe or something like that. So what it is basically you can go sign up. If you go watch that video they put out today about the judge in the gym, right? In that video, the live, he talks about Swipe, which is basically if you do any sort of citizen journalism, they'll you do it right, they'll pay you for it. Like he's trying to inspire people to go do what he does, but in your area, which is perfect. And I would have, commented to him, hey, what a better time than now with all the election stuff going on to keep your eyes open for anything you see. Now, the girl who came up and did the video, the IRS guy, she got $7,000 from them, right? Just for doing that. She was very much active. She set up a date with the guy, and she started dating him to get information from him, and that's how she got at the end, right? So she was like a hardcore citizen journalism, undercover journalism, investigative journalism, whatever. She was hardcore into it, but you don't even have to go that far. It's just that if you happen to see somebody doing something and you're in a position where it's safe and you can do it and you want to do it, you can do your own journalism. And then you can take it to James O'Keefe, and they'll look at it and tell you whether they can use it or not. And it might end up paying off for you. Like I think a bunch of people signed up today too when he was talking about it. Like that it's called Swipe something journalism, and basically it's where he's letting you go out and do the stuff that he does, and he helps you take it and publish it and helps people see it. He gives it visibility and reach, which is perfect. Perfect timing. Remember to keep an eye on people walking around looking at mailboxes, man. That you can tell who they are. They're just muddling around. Let's see. Yeah, you don't even hear about the Green Party anymore. Yeah, none of them. That like 10 years ago, third parties were making a push. You know, there were a bunch of them that were all in a third party debate one time with the Libertarians, the Green Party, and some other groups that were in there. I think there was a Constitutional Party in there or something. I don't know. And what was the other one? I can't even remember them, man. See that they've been memory hold. They've been memory hold. Yeah, at least in Colorado and Maine, it was the state Supreme Court who removed him from the ballot. This judge is just a local county judge. They're getting desperate, aren't they? Maybe LawTube needs to have their own activist day where we nicely contact congressmen, senators, and governors about corruption. Hey, that's an idea. Put that together. You know, there need to be LawTube. Those guys are busy with their channels, but it could be the people, chat, the crowd. And you just set like an appointment date or something like that, or set like a I don't know, something like an well, I'm trying to think like a Discord or like an invite or like a whatever, a reminder of some kind that'll, you know, this is the day we're all going to call our local congressman and say this or talk about this, or hey, you're on to something there. You're on to something. The Tea Party, taxed and up already party. The Tea Party, where that's old school. Who's the question for? Question mark. Tea Party? See, I don't have time to set it up. Hey, well, maybe somebody hears your idea and goes, you know what, that's a great idea. I'm gonna run with it. Keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. Yeah, that's crazy. That came out right then. I happened to catch it. I was like, dang. Looking for a little bit more bonus content for you guys. So this Saturday night, winning Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, I got lots of good news this week to go over. We haven't went over some of it already, but there's a lot more and a lot more funny videos to view together as well. And, you know, there's probably some other little things in there. Always thinking about how to add things and what works and we have fun with. I like the Songs About You one, but, you know, it didn't seem like there was a lot of interaction with that. But if you guys would like me to bring back Songs About You and do that anytime, just let me know. I just pop it in every now and then as it applies. Just kind of like, you know, something in the quiver there, an arrow in the quiver. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Let me see. This here. I've done that for years, LA, including calling the White House. Oh, good for you, Mimsy. Stick it to him. Stick it to him. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the information. I think it all fit together nicely to give you a good idea about how NGOs and media are part of that deep state apparatus. And really what the takeaway is that they can operate inside and outside the law together in coordination to really affect a lot of things that are important to us. Not, you know, we see them. This was a heavy focus on the election, but it's not just that. It's also, we talked a lot about the geopolitics too, like what goes on outside foreign policy and so on. That's all happening there as well, you know. And I hope that you guys learned something tonight, got some more insight on how things work, and walk away smarter and safer for it for the knowledge, But yeah, that's about it for this evening. I appreciate everybody being here. I love you guys. You guys rock the house. You are the very best. Thank you to everybody on YouTube, Rumble, and X, and all the rewatchers everywhere out there who set the standard. I really appreciate it. The White House has a number of messages to go to the president. Even they read him the messages, he would not know what they were talking about. So many impressive people in this chat all the time. You guys never fail to amaze me, and me too. Absolutely. All right, guys. Until Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Yes, absolutely. There you go. Rumblers too. 9 p.m. Eastern for Winning Saturday Night. Until then, everyone, keep on winning.
This is a friendship that